You know, some camps got the liquor bottle out.
Yeah. We have health bars out. Shalom, everybody. We're about to start. Well, we are actually starting. Hope everybody's doing well.
Shalom.
Shalom. Happy Shabbat. Shalom to all the schools out here, getting the work done, teaching, and trying to make that change for the people on a consistent basis. We appreciate all the good works that all of us try to commit to. So, shout out to the brothers in Houston, Virginia, Rochester, New York.
Norfolk.
Yeah, we know it's not an easy job. We know what we do for the Most High every day is challenging. Make sure I got Zoom on. But hopefully, the way things are panning out in the world, we might be home sooner than we think. We might go into those topics a little bit later on down the line. But once again, either way, hope everybody's doing well, and we're back on the grind. We're back at it, and may the Most High continue to bless everyone in their endeavors and their pursuit to please the Heavenly Father. So, without further ado, we're going to start getting these prayers up. Much. Barak Yahweh Hashem Yahshai.
Barak Yahweh Hashem Yahshai.
Hahawa Nathanel. Award. Zayawam. The water.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us light this day. Thanks, so be it.
Okay. Barak Yahweh Hashem Yahshai.
Barak Yahweh Hashem Yahshai.
Hahawa Nathanel. Rayach. Nayachacha. The water.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us sweet savor. Thank you, so be it.
Yeah. Imagine Waponya Yerushalayim.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
We got to try to clean up the base because it gets dirty.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Barak Yahweh Hashem Yahshai.
Barak Yahweh Hashem Yahshai.
Hahawa Nathanel. Hashabbat. Bashalom. The water.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it.
Okay. Psalms 121. Anasya, Ayanyamya, Hohoyim, Ma'aya, Yabu'a, Isaiah, Yabu'a, Ma, Yahweh, Sha'aisha, Shemayim, Wa'aratiza, La'a, Yanathan, Lamawat, Regalia, Yala'a, Nawam, Shashamoyah, Hana, Yala'a, Nawam, Wala'a, Yashan, Sheshawamah, Yashra'ala, Yahweh, Shemaya, Yahweh, Tazalia, Ayah, Yanyamya, Yad, Hashemash, Yala'a, Hakaya, Bayawam, Wala'a, Harabana, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashmaya, Makol, Rai, Yashmar, Pasha, Yahweh, Yashmar, Hawalakya, Wabu'aya, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, Amen.
Psalms 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yahshua shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thee, thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Amen.
Israelite Credo. Shema Yashra'ala, Yahweh, Elohayna, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yashra'ala, Yahweh, Elohayna, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yeshua.
Shema Yeshua.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Eloheinu. Yahweh. Echad.
Echad. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord.
Okay. Lord's Prayer. Avanawa. Sheba Shemayim. Kodesh. Hayat. Shemka. Yahweh. Malakwutka. Thaba'at. Ratazaka. Hayat. Aisha. Ba'arataza. Kawat. Hayat. Bashemayim. Nathanael. Lachom. Ko. Yawam. Wasalachna. Chawatina. Kasalachna. Chawatina. Wala'at. Tabiano. Bonasawat. Abo. Hawashana. Mayan. Right. Hayat. Laka. Amalakwa. Waha'ala. Wahathapa'arat. La'ay Walanya. Amen.
Matthew chapter 6 verse 9. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. 10 Commandments. La'ayahaya. Lakab. Alahaya. Lachayim. Ayo. Panya.
Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
Number 2. La'ab. Ta'ainat. Lakab. Pasal. Wala'ab. Ta'ibadam.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, nor serve them.
3. La'ab. Talach wachat. Sham. Yahweh. Bashawa.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain.
4. Zakor. Hayawam. Hashabat. Laquadashwa.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Number 5. Kabad. Abaka. Ya'amaka.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
6. La'ab. Tharataza.
Thou shalt not kill, murder.
Number 7. La'ab. Thana'a.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Number 8. La'ab. Thagana.
Thou shalt not steal.
Number 9. La'ab. Tha'ainat. Shakwar.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Number 10. La'ab. Tha'chamat. Ho. Asherah. Lara'aika.
Thou shalt not covet anything which is thy neighbor's.
Okay. Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. Ahawa'ah. Nathanael.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the law.
Israel, you shall be.
Take seats.
All right. So, where we left off, we were dealing with the death of Saul. Death of Saul and Jonathan. And also we talked about how the men of Jezreel, Gibeah, were courageous enough to sit back here and retrieve the body of Saul and his sons. And brought them back and established proper burials.
It ended with tragedy. And well, that tragedy is the end of one era and the beginning of another era.
But the crazy thing is this. The reason I titled the class "The Climb of David to the Throne" was because it wasn't just this quick turnover. It wasn't just quick. Once Saul died, all of a sudden now,
Yeah. We're free.
David's in power. Everybody wins. Victory for the Jews. It was a slow progression
So you're saying
and a slow transition from one head to the next head.
So you're saying the Most High doesn't have these quick overnight scenarios? It normally doesn't happen like that in truth.
Nothing in life will happen that way. Whether the truth in the world, these successions, these turnovers take time. And it was still another test of patience for David.
God.
And So we're going to go into that very soon. So let's get first. Let's go to 2 Samuel, chapter 1 and verse 1. Yep. Plot for a second.
Karaya, Shah Shabbatah, Bana Shah, Bana Shah,
Karaya, Shah Shabbatah, Bana Shah, Bana Shah, and bunch of rope. Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Barakatah.
Yahweh Hashem Yahushai Barakatham.
There we go.
Second Samuel, chapter 2 and verse 1.
No, chapter 1 and verse 1.
Oh, chapter 1, yeah, my bad. 2 Samuel, chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass, after the death of Saul, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, and David had abode 2 days in Ziklag.
So listen, don't forget, David was sent away by four of the 5 kings of the Philistines. They didn't want David to fight against Saul because they felt Saul was going to turn and fight with Israel once they got into the battle. So they sent him back to Ziklag. And at the time, when he went to Ziklag, the Amalekites had trashed the city, plundered it, took their wives and families, and took them down to the land of the Amalekites. And David and his men pursued them, reclaimed what was theirs and what was taken from the other Judite tribes in the south, brought it back up to their land in Ziklag, and dispersed it to the other Jews who were pillaged by the Amalekites as well. So now it's 2 days after he got back and got settled in that he gets news that Saul and Jonathan have passed. Let's keep going to verse 2.
Come. It came even to pass on the 3rd day that, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul with his clothes rent, and earth upon his head. And so it was, when he came to David, that he fell to the earth and did obeisance.
Yes, he did this. He showed respect to David after looking like he had a hell of a time at it. If earth's in your head, that means you're in the lowest state. You haven't had a chance to get yourself together and get yourself reestablished. Okay, so let's keep going.
And David said unto him, From whence comest thou? And he said unto him, Out of the camp of Israel am I escaped.
So he says, I escaped from the camp of Israel. Read on.
And David said unto him, How went the matter?
How did it go? How did the war go? Read on.
I pray thee, tell me. And he answered, That the people are fled from the battle, and many of the people also are fallen and dead. And Saul and Jonathan, his son, are dead also.
Okay. So they're saying, listen, we lost the battle. It didn't work out. The people fled, and Saul and Jonathan were killed. Read on.
And David said unto the young man that told him, How knowest thou that Saul and Jonathan his son be dead? And the young man told him, said, As I happened by chance upon Mount Gilboa, behold, Saul leaned upon his spear, and lo, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him.
Mm-hmm.
And when he looked behind him, he saw me, and called unto me, and I answered, Here am I.
To lean on your spear, that means he's tired, he's hurt, he's injured. I'm leaning as a crutch, like a staff, like I'm leaning on it because I have no more in the tank to deal with these Philistines that are going hard at him. Okay, so read that part again.
Come. Says, verse 6. And the young man that told him said, As I happened by chance upon Mount Gilboa, behold, Saul leaned upon his spear, and lo, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him.
Damn.
And when he looked behind him, he saw me and called unto me. And I answered, here am I.
Listen, if you got all these guys coming at him, and you stop moving, you know it's just a matter of time before it's over. Read on.
And he said unto me, Who art thou?
That's funny. That's not. I just stopped it. Keep going.
And I answered him, I am an Amalekite. He
And
said,
him and I'm telling you, him and Saul and these Amalekites, they're always around him. Huh?
The thorns in the side.
They're always there, bro. But let's keep going.
Come. Verse 9. He said unto me again, Stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me.
So the question is this. He's still making a false report because the scripture said that his armor bearer was the one that was right there with him. So the Amalekite was the one sitting here watching, eating popcorn from a distance.
Go running.
He was running up, but he was from a distance. He got in a safe place and was watching it. Oh, this is how it's going down. I got a story to tell, like Biggie said. Now I got a story to tell, and I might be able to get some reward from saying I vanquished the opponent. Yes, I.
Yeah, that was my question. So this is like clout, right? Like he was trying to get recognition or something.
He went. Why else go straight to David?
Right.
Because everybody knows David's the next man up.
Right.
So I'm gonna go to the next man up and say, hey, I just want you to know,
Mm-hmm.
Saul fought hard, he was valiant, but I put it into him.
Right.
Yeah.
Put it into his misery, man.
You know, it's sad in the situation when you read the story, but when you look at people, like you got these natural disasters in Haiti, where you got these earthquakes, 7.1 earthquakes, children in the streets. You got a lot of people that flee, floods in New Orleans and in the South, hurricanes on the East Coast. You got disaster teams that get a big payday in the midst of a disaster.
Yep.
And a lot of these false charities and these quick teams, these
charitable groups,
disaster teams that are ready on the moment. They got boats on the trailer.
FEMA and stuff.
Yeah, FEMA. They get FEMA money,
Yeah.
and they get paid because they're part of the hurricane cleanup.
Right.
But you also read about people that are sifting through people's stuff after a hurricane, stealing their gold and breaking into their safes and their jewelry and their money, and sometimes even taking their car keys and taking their cars. And so you got some people, Amalek, and just showing the history of Amalek, but a lot of these descendants of Amalek still do the same thing to this day. They never let a disaster go to waste.
Yep.
And that's their motto. We never let a good disaster go to waste. So this is a mentality. The scriptures say there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
So when you look at this man's mind frame, that mind frame is still prevalent today just as much as it was during this time right here. How do I use this situation that's a disaster? Saul's death is a disaster. That's a blow to the people. But how can I use this disaster to benefit me on a personal level?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people do that. A lot of people still try to use a disaster and a fallout to their benefit.
Yeah.
And that's a sad thing. I'm gonna try to get a come up off of this situation.
Yeah.
How can I come up off of it?
I was gonna say, so the young man, right? So at first he told David that Saul and Jonathan was already passed, right? But he really wasn't. He was trying to plot on him or something like that.
Keep going. Answer the
Yeah,
question.
right.
Oh,
He said he was trying to plot.
back spasm. Really bad.
Go ahead.
No, I was just asking the young man who had came to David and told him that Saul and his son Jonathan had passed, but Saul really wasn't, right? He didn't pass yet. He was still alive because obviously he was running from the battlefield.
No, he passed.
Well, he passed, but he gave a portion of the story.
Yeah.
There's an old saying: "A dead man tells no tales."
Yeah.
So who was alive to be able to tell the accurate depiction of what went down at the situation? But this man had an interpretation of the situation based off the idea of personal gain. You know what I'm saying? So yes, he kind of twisted the story a little bit, but he did do what he said he did.
Oh, he told David that he had slew.
Yeah, let's read so we understand. So where you at? What verse you on right now?
You still on verse 9, sir.
All right, read verse 9 again.
Real quick, though, I'm coming back, but when y'all finish the story, just go to the Josephus and go back into it.
Okay.
All right.
I was talking to Subs one.
All right.
2 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 9. He said unto me again, stand, I pray thee, upon me.
He said, do what?
He said, I pray thee upon me.
So he says Saul told the young man to come here and stand on me. Go ahead.
And slay me.
Go ahead.
For anguish is come upon me.
He said what?
Because anguish is come upon me.
He said, for anguish is come upon me. Go ahead.
Because my life is yet whole in me.
He said, because my life is what?
Is yet whole in me.
Go ahead.
So I stood upon him and slew him, because I was sure that he could not live after that he was fallen. Yeah.
He said, I was sure he could not live. So he took it upon himself to finish the matter.
Take matters in his own hands.
Take matters in his own hand.
Okay.
So he said, I was sure, that was his opinion.
Right.
I was sure that he wouldn't be able to survive. So I went ahead and finished the job. Read.
It says, and I took the crown that was upon his head, and the bracelet that was also on his arm, and have brought them hither unto my Lord.
All right, so now let's hold that right there in verse 10, and let's go to the Josephus, book 7, chapter 1, paragraph 1, and page 180 in the Josephus.
So 180?
Page 180 in the Josephus.
Okay.
It's going to be book 7, chapter 1, paragraph 1.
Okay. Says,
Sorry, yeah, we just pass out these Josephus. Yeah, go ahead and read it. Who don't have one? Who else don't have one? Everybody got one? Okay. Go ahead and read it.
Come. Antiquity of the Jews, book 7, chapter 1, paragraph 1. Book 1, page 180. Says, this fight proved to be on the same day whereon David was come back to Ziklag, after he had overcome the Amalekites. Now when he had been already 2 days at Ziklag, there came to him the man who slew Saul, which was the 3rd day after the fight. He had escaped out of the battle which the Israelites had with the Philistines, and had his clothes rent and ashes upon his head. And when he had made his obeisance to David, he inquired of him whence he came. He replied, from the battle of the Israelites, and he informed him that the end of it was unfortunate. Many 10,000s of the Israelites having been cut off, and Saul, together with his sons, slain. He also said that he could well give him this information, because he was present at the victory gained over the Hebrews, and was with the king when he fled. Nor did he deny that he had himself slain the king.
So he admitted out of his own mouth. Go ahead.
When he was ready to be taken by the enemy, and he himself exhorted him to do it, because when he was fallen on his sword, his great wounds had made him so weak that he was not able to kill himself.
Now we read earlier that he was shot through with arrows also in the previous book. Read on.
Line 4. It says,
And it's crazy. It's crazy. Just being wounded in battle. Period.
Yeah.
It's got to be disheartening when you're wounded, you're mortally wounded, and you can see all these events coming, and you don't have the strength to fight back.
I didn't even remember. He said he didn't even have. It said that he didn't even have. His great. He was so weak that he wasn't even able to kill himself. He wasn't even taking his own life away. He was that weak. That's crazy.
Right.
Line 4. He also produced demonstrations that the king was slain, which were the golden bracelets.
Now, the demonstration was the proof.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? The demonstration is the proof. The proof was what? Was the golden bracelet and what else?
And the crown.
And the crown. Go ahead.
It says, he also produced demonstrations that the king was slain, which were the golden bracelets that had been on the king's arm, and his crown, which he had taken away from Saul's dead body, and had brought them to him.
You know what? Well, why would he take? Think about it. Why would he take that from Saul? Yeah, I'm asking the question. Why would he take that from Saul?
Well, So I can answer that. Well, my question about that was he a grave robber?
No, he wasn't in the grave yet. But why would he take that from Saul? Why would he take the golden bracelet off of Saul's arm and take his crown?
Notoriety?
Because it had value. Now, if he really cared about Saul, you know, you watch men in Vietnam. When you got a fellow soldier that's wounded, what do?
Try to resuscitate them.
No, you put them on your shoulder.
Come.
When somebody's mortally wounded in battle, you put them on your shoulder and you carry them to safety.
Come.
You know, so he could have thrown Saul. Now we know Saul was a big man, but he still could have brought Saul, throw him over his shoulder. Obviously, the man made it all the way to David.
Right.
But I'm gonna take these two pieces of treasure, these two pieces of value, instead of making an attempt to even put this man on my shoulder
And save his body.
because that's what Saul was afraid of. He knew that his body would be abused and tormented and made a public example.
Right.
So when you have that kind of, you're in a battle like that, and you're trying to get the people out of there,
Right.
or even knowing what Saul was trying to do at that situation, he made it clear they're gonna misuse me.
Right.
Let me go ahead and take myself out before they use my body and put me on public display. He could at least try to, what they call a dead man carry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you put somebody on your shoulder and you carry them out of the battle, he didn't even make that attempt. He just took the two most valuable things that he can get out of the situation.
Wow, so that's crazy. No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get some clarity. I'm not saying he was buried. I'm saying if this was a big battle and there's dead bodies all over the place, was this man just sifting through the battlefield looking for what he could find, like rummaging through what valuables he could find?
No,
Just
he-
like some scavengers?
No, I can't say that because he
Okay.
said the enemy was hard pressed behind him. The chariot, the horsemen were behind him.
Well,
If he didn't get out of there, he would have got killed too. Them Philistines would have killed him too.
Right.
But he didn't make an attempt to even try to get Saul out of there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you got respect for that man, you know, you try to get him out of the situation. At least try to drag him out, carry him out. You know, you can even take two sticks. I don't know, but people know this in battle. They know this in war. You take two sticks and you tie the man to two sticks and you pick the sticks up. And you put his body on two sticks on a plank, and his body's like this. And you could carry the sticks under your arms, under your shoulders, and you could drag somebody out of a situation. It's almost like a gurney. It's almost like a temporary gurney, but it's at an angle. And when that gurney's at an angle, you have the strength enough to at least drag him on the ground at an angle. This man made no attempts to save him at all, to save his body at all. But he sure as hell picked out them two
right.
valuable objects.
Right.
Well, that's my question. Like, you got these people hard pressed against you, but you had time to get a
That's what I'm saying. You're right.
Right. I'm gonna take. Let me borrow that.
You had time to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
There's an enemy hard pressed against you.
Right.
But you got time to get a crown.
But it just shows.
It's like a big lie.
It just show you where his mind was
It's a
at.
big lie.
Right. It show you where his man's mind was at.
That's crazy.
His mind was on. It was a payday.
So is it safe to say that this man was selfish? He was very, very
He was going for
He's gonna
self.
come up, huh?
Yeah. He saw some value, and he wasn't gonna let that crown and that bracelet go to waste.
It says all fabricated.
God.
And he was aware as well that he was going to be put on display and just left him there?
Yeah. He left his body there, but took the crown,
That's crazy.
the bracelet, and then put the ashes on his head, and came to David with his garments.
I had a tough day.
Like it was,
I had a
yeah.
tough day today.
Yeah.
I'm fatigued. I'm fatigued.
And I was
I'm
mourning.
exhausted.
I was mourning.
You see this cut? I cut my arm.
Yeah,
This
paper
look-
cut.
this-
Paper cutting battle.
yeah.
Read on.
God, it says, so David, having no longer room to call in question the truth of what he has said, but seeing most evident marks that Saul was dead, he rent his garments and continued all that day with his companions in weeping and lamentations.
He said that whole day. He said he was weeping with lamentations. Right. So the man was still there. The young man was still there. He said, but they were weeping with lamentations. Go ahead. Read on.
Line 5 says, this grief was augmented by the consideration of Jonathan, the son of Saul, who had been his most faithful friend, and the occasion of his own deliverance. He also demonstrated himself to have such great virtue and such great kindness for Saul, as not only to take his death to heart, though he had been frequently in danger of losing his life by his means, but to punish him that slew him.
Now that was after. Now that was after they mourned and they realized, okay, there's some truth to the story. Saul is dead. Jonathan is dead. They rent their garments and mourned the whole day. The whole day they mourned. They cried. They, you know what I'm saying? They were full of sorrow, tears. But then the senses came to David like, something ain't right with the story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. You don't want to ask no more questions.
Something ain't right with this story, man. This don't add up. You know.
Yeah.
And that's when, and then that's when he comes back in verse. Hold that, and let's go back to the scripture. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 13.
Come. 2 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 13. And David said unto the young man that told him, Whence art thou? And he answered, I am the son of a stranger, an Amalekite. And David said unto him, How wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thine hand to destroy the Most High's anointed?
And you know, this is the spirit of the Most High coming on him. Like, that don't sound right for you to be so, to take it so lightly.
Okay.
To stretch forth your hand to touch the Lord's anointed.
It was the spirit of the Most High, but it was also it was a reflection of his principles. I sat back here and stayed on the run because I want to sit back here and do right by the king and be in order with the Most High and the king.
If anybody could have killed Saul, it was David.
And I sat back here and prolonged my hell, trying to stay in order and do the right thing with the Most High and the person that was over me, the king that was over me. And you just sit back and nonchalantly just killed him like just in the heat of the battle like that. It was the spirit of the Most High, and it was a token of David's respect for the Most High and his desire to sit back here and stick to the principles that made him who he was.
Right.
How dare you sit back here and say, "Damn, you my guy, this merc David, this merc Saul like this." And where's your principles? Where's your spiritual principles and values?
Mm-hmm.
If he had that, when you go back to 1 Samuel at the end, 1 Samuel chapter 31,
3-6.
start at verse 4.
So chapter 31.
Yes, 1 Samuel chapter 31, start at verse 4.
Come. 1 Samuel chapter 31 and verse 4, it says, right, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Come, it says,
Start at verse 3.
Verse 3, it says, And the battle went sore against Saul, and the archers hit him.
So Saul was full of arrows, man. He had arrows sticking all over his body.
Brother.
So of course he was weak. He was bleeding out. Go ahead.
And think about these arrows. You can't pull the arrows out.
You can't pull them out.
You got to push them through.
Yep.
And you ain't got time to do all that stuff right now.
You on the run.
Those arrows weren't meant to come out the way they came in.
No.
They had to drive all the way through, and you was gonna be in the trick bag.
Remember, they were throwing javelins and shooting arrows.
Kinda.
It was
They were good at javelin throwing.
Yeah. Spear chunkers, bro.
Yeah.
There you go.
Go ahead.
And he was sore wounded of the archers. Then said Saul unto his armor bearer,
Now Saul told his armor bearer, go ahead.
Draw thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through, and abuse me.
He knew it.
But his armor bearer would not.
It said, but what?
It says, but his armor bearer would not.
Why wouldn't his armor bearer finish him up?
Because they had those same principles.
Exactly.
Yeah, respect.
He had respect for him. I'm not gonna do that, man. He had enough fear of the Lord to know that the Most High would have to put Saul to death. I'm gonna keep my hands innocent. Clean hands make a man strong and strong. I'm not gonna pollute and stain my family name as the one to go down in history as the one that slew my master.
Yep.
The reputation.
My reputation is on the line. You know, I'm not gonna stain my honor, knowing that I was the one to crucify my master.
Right.
Read.
For he was sore afraid. Therefore.
But he was afraid. He wasn't afraid of Saul. Saul was about to die.
Yeah.
But who was he afraid of?
Most High.
He was afraid of the Most High. Go ahead.
Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon him.
So he killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is trying to take the glory. Like, I'm trying to explain it already, so I'm not going into it again.
So he was lying then when he said that he that when he had took Saul's life away, Saul really.
Yep.
Because then he said that he because it said also that he was so weak that he couldn't do it himself as well.
Yeah, but that was his story.
Yeah.
That was the
Amalekite. That was the Amalekite story.
Okay, so
He couldn't lift the sword up.
That was a
That's why I lifted it fire.
But you got to ask yourself this too. If this Amalekite is part of Saul's army, who was this Amalekite with when Saul was chasing David? He was with Saul. So he knew to go to David. Why? Because he was also part of the same entourage that pursued David in the wilderness. He knew they were enemies.
So he was a finesser over
He was
there.
a turnover. It's not turnover.
Right. He was trying to finesse the situation.
So he thought he received favor.
He thought he received favor from David. So I'm gonna switch sides. And there's a lot of men that do that. When they see that, when they see that there's a transition of power, or transition of authority, or demise of the team that I'm on is not winning. I'm not part of the winning team.
Right.
What do men do?
Switch sides.
They switch sides all the time. I'm gonna go to the winning side. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm gonna go to the side that appears to be gonna be the winner.
Right.
So there's a lot of men that at the last minute, based upon situations, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch based upon who I feel is I can get the best situation and best outcome from.
For his own benefit.
For his own benefit.
Right.
You don't think that damn Amalekite was part of the entourage that was pursuing David in the mountains?
Crazy.
How would he know to go to David?
Exactly.
And
this is why we don't try to engage in politics.
That's the essence of evil, man.
That's the essence of Israel too. Israel do the same thing.
Right.
Israel, for the sake of advantage, and for the sake of what I can gain out of a situation.
Right.
If there's a fallout, if I'm in a camp and there's a fallout between camps, I'm gonna go where I think I'm gonna be favored the most, and I have the best possible situation and outcome in my favor.
Or let me be the go-between.
Yeah.
Me being the go-between, I'm gonna get a reward for being that
I'm
go-between.
gonna be the mediator.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the mediator because I know that
I know both parties.
I know both parties.
And if I bring them together, I'm gonna get my reward because I'm the liaison.
The liaison, yeah. That's crazy.
I had a definition for you.
What's that?
Opportunistic.
There you go.
Exploiting chances offered by immediate circumstances without reference to a general plan or moral principle.
Yeah, it's just about finding angles and opportunities.
Yeah. Opportunist, bro.
For me to come up. I was just doing. I was just a humble servant of the Lord.
Yeah.
You know?
I was caught in a bad situation.
Yeah.
I couldn't call it. I had to make I couldn't call it. I had to make a decision. I couldn't call it, man. I didn't know what to do.
It's awesome.
I was at a loss for words.
God.
So a lot of people, for the sake of advantage. I like that definition. Read that definition one more time.
Opportunistic, exploiting chances offered by immediate circumstances.
It said exploiting chances offered by what?
Immediate circumstances.
Go ahead.
Without reference to a general plan.
Without reference, I don't have a plan. Go ahead.
Or moral principle.
I'm not tied to a plan. Neither am I tied to morals. I'm not making this decision off moral. This is not a moral decision that I'm making. This decision that I'm making is about my situation and my circumstance.
Surviving, bro.
How can I best put myself in the best situation where I can fare the better and not the worse? It's not about morals. It's not about ethics. It's not about principles. It's not about right and wrong. It's about gain. And a lot of men make that decision about gain.
Can I pull switch real quick?
Please. Yes.
Ecclesiasticus 37 verse 1.
Let's get that. Whoever got it.
He's got to go on a little bit, so yeah, you can take over in a little bit.
Okay. Ecclesiasticus 37 verse 1.
Yeah.
Come on. Ecclesiasticus chapter 37 and verse 1. Every friend saith, I am his friend also.
Every friend saith, I am your companion. We have the same sentiments. We have the same values. We have the same losses and gains. We're in this together. Read.
But there is a friend.
There's a friend. There's a person that projects this. We have the same sentiments. We have the same same principles,
Bonds,
same
care.
We're in this together.
Right.
We take this L together, we take this V together. We take this W together, we take this L together. We're in this together.
Unity.
There's some that's a what?
It says, but there is a friend which is only a friend in name.
So there's two types. There's a sincere friend that really is there for issues and problems and good, bad, or indifferent. And there's also a friend that's only there in what? In name. In name meaning what?
Reputation.
Just name meaning it's just
I know that person.
based on the situation. This is working, so I'm a friend in name. Because the Chicago Bulls are winning, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan.
You gotta get a starter jacket,
Because
man.
the Pats are winning.
That red starter jacket.
They're
man,
not
that red-
they're not Patriot fans, but you know when Patriots keep
Classic.
winning, all of a sudden you see Patriots jerseys. I was in San Antonio, Texas, like Lakers and Spurs, they always going back and forth. When the Lakers are winning, the same people wearing the Spurs jerseys wearing Laker jerseys.
Right.
You know, the Spurs are winning, the people wearing Laker jerseys. The same guy sitting here wearing Spurs jerseys. Like, whose team are you on, bro? But I'm
Whoever's winning.
Whoever's
I'm on the winning team because
Who's got the best record?
people like to win. So read on real quick, verse 2.
It says, is it not a grief unto death when a companion and friend is turned to an enemy?
The word enemy means to be in opposition.
Right.
So the issue is the Most High tests everybody's sincerity and puts everybody through change to see if I'm going to truly sincerely be this friend, or am I going to change position based off of what I can lose. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Go to Ecclesiastes 12 and
Now
8.
you kind of got to read on a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Verse 3. O wicked imagination.
He said that's a wicked what?
Imagination.
That I'm only going to be here for the benefits.
Yep.
I'm only going to be here to say I'm a friend to reap the benefits.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Whence camest thou in to cover the earth with
He
deceit?
said that's a deceitful person. Meaning I'm not here because I really care. I'm only here because I have an opportunity to come up.
And get something out
I
of
can
it.
get something out the deal. Read on.
There is a companion which rejoiceth in the prosperity of a friend.
Now that's what you call fair weather friends. When the weather is fair, they're right there with you. They're right there with you when the weather's good. They're right on your side. When it looks like that they're coming up, they're winning, I'm right on your side. I'm on a winning team. Read on.
But in the time of trouble.
He said, but you really don't know a friend until when?
Time of trouble.
Until things get hard.
Right.
Then you start to see the reality of people's commitments. You start to see their loyalty.
Right.
You start to see their morals.
Right.
They start to become manifested. Read on.
It says, but in the time of trouble will be against him.
They said will be what?
Be against him.
So this man was riding with Saul the whole time, and his armor bearer, when he told his armor bearer, hey man, slay me. He said, man, I'm not going to do that. He said it would not. He said, but his armor bearer would not, for he was so afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon it. And when his armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword and died with him.
Wow.
They rode together.
He said, man, you know what? If you going out, then I'm gonna go out too.
The same way.
I'm gonna go out the same way. You know what? Because I'm loyal to that.
Right.
I'm loyal to that level.
Right.
It said, so Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor bearer, and all his men that same day together. All his men died together.
Right.
But how about this guy? What about this guy that didn't die, but got a story to tell?
And might get a W.
Yeah.
Well, he's trying to.
He's trying.
He's positioning.
He like, I might win this one.
That's why he said, verse 4 one more time.
It says, then Saul, 1 Samuel chapter 31 and verse 4. Then said Saul unto his armor bearer, draw thy sword
No.
and thrust
Verse
me.
4 and 30. Ecclesiastes 37.
Oh, 37?
Mhm.
My bad. Verse 4, it says, there is a companion which rejoiceth in the prosperity of a friend,
Read on.
but in the time of trouble will be against him.
Go ahead.
There is a companion which helpeth his friend for the belly.
It's for the what?
It's for the belly.
It's for the it's only for the belly. That's an opportunist.
Yeah.
I'm only here to get something out the deal.
Somebody who wants to get a benefit from
Right.
it.
And if I can't get a benefit out the deal, then I'm switching sides.
Right.
The scripture says was Ecclesiastes in the Apocrypha, chapter 30. What again?
37.
37, verse 1 through 5.
1 through 5.
Huh.
They said, I'm doing it for the belly. Go ahead.
It says, and taketh up the buckler,
The buckler is a shield. Go ahead.
against the enemy.
So I'll fight your battles with you as long as I'm getting something out the deal. I'll be on your side as long as I'm getting paid.
Yep.
And if I'm not getting paid, if I'm not getting my palms waxed, if I'm not getting my palms greased, if I'm not getting an immediate benefit, if I don't see no benefit out of this, I'm out.
Yep.
Because I'm only here not for loyal. These are mercenaries, man. These are mercenary fighters, bro.
Yeah.
They're not loyal to a
cause.
particular cause or a particular army.
Mm-hmm.
They're mercenaries. I'm here. I'm a hired
I'm a soldier of fortune.
soldier of fortune is what they call it.
And connects to that concept. You brought about those people, those disaster.
Yeah.
Those are the same. It's the same type of spirit.
They ain't
Oh,
give
we
a damn.
care about
Yeah.
the children in Haiti.
Yeah.
We care about Katrina. It's such a travesty. They're winning off the travesty.
Them same ones be kidnapping them kids in Haiti too.
Exactly. Kidnapping kids, selling people's property, taking advantage of people,
Yep.
harming people. But they put on the feigned image. They're feigning as if they care about the cause. And these people exist in disasters, and they exist also in friendships.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a scary thing.
Yeah. It's very scary, bro. Because you really don't know the heart of men until a situation arises. And then it exposes difficulty and poverty exposes the hearts of men.
And that's really why ups and downs are a must.
Yeah.
These conditions where things don't look good all the time are a must to reveal loyalties and the true nature of people.
Right. So finish that in verse 5. He said, no, you already finished it. And taketh up a buckler against the enemy. So it's just somebody that I'll fight a battle. I'm a mercenary, or I'll be that soldier of fortune as long as there's a fortune. Right?
You read more on scripture?
No, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
I want to pause right here. This just goes with that scripture also.
No. Go ahead.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 and verse 8.
Come.
Ecclesiasticus 12 and 8.
Ecclesiasticus, in the Apocrypha, chapter 12 and verse 8, says, a friend cannot be known in prosperity.
So a friend cannot be known when everything's all good. When everything is positive, hunky-dory, things are good, when the lamb is good, when the wars are
It's
getting...
always about that lamb taste.
Oh, it's always about the taste of the lamb. When the wars are good, the benefits are good, everything's going nicey-dicey out. That's cool, but you really can't know because there's no real adversity or suffering to really reveal the real feelings and the real sentiments.
Yeah.
Read on.
And an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity.
And Moses said it's a law. It's a law situation. People can't hide when there's bad shit going on. How people really feel in a relationship, in a brotherhood,
Right.
in a business, in any endeavor. How people right now. I hate to go here, man, but it's the truth, right? People are Elon Musk taking over Twitter, right?
Yep.
So now people are like within Twitter, like, man, we're gonna quit the company. We're not gonna stand for this guy Musk. We want him to be an authority. Okay, cool.
Because they're still on that movement where social media should be censored,
Exactly.
and controlled and dominated.
They're pro left-wing liberal censorship.
Yep.
And they're about that approach so that they can have political advantage over time and hopefully take over the culture and take over the office and the finances and eventually change the government, right? That's their culture. That's their focus.
That's the narrative.
That's the narrative. Now everything was all good. It was all good when
Smart cars, clean energy.
everything's cool when there's benefits.
Yeah.
Right? But now that there's a new boss in town, there's a new there's a new guy in town that may change the culture. You gotta make your mind up. If the culture is, am I gonna leave? Am I gonna stay? Am I loyal to Twitter itself, the company? Am I loyal just to the job Twitter? Or am I loyal to my personal causes?
Yeah.
Everybody has to make a decision. What are you loyal to?
Yeah.
Even in business. Read on.
Come. In the prosperity of a man, enemies will be grieved, but in his adversity, even a friend will depart.
So it's showing you that people change. When things are bad, even your friends depart. This happens to rappers all the time. They always sing about this.
Yeah. Fair weather friends.
They always sing about how people left them and they had nothing.
Be a fair weather friend.
Exactly.
Be there to the end.
Even through stormy weather, time and time again. Give me the hands like this.
Yeah.
Rain falls.
Yeah.
I like that Can't Stand the Rain song. That's my favorite one. But the Most High is showing that the Most High is the manipulator of situations, and He changes the conditions of life just to see if we're truly sincere about who we care about, who we say we care about.
I like what you said. It's necessary that there be tribulation. Otherwise the team will always be strong.
Yep, everything's great.
You know, you be like hammer dancers, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, the hammer dancers.
When you got 30,
you in a hotel for 40, 60 days in a row.
Yeah, 30 days, 60 days, or a year. Or
Yeah.
however long the hammer dancers was in the. When Hammer was making money, Hammer was hot. They was living off of Hammer's, success.
Yes.
They were in a hotel ordering 5-star meals.
Filet
5-star.
mignon.
Yeah.
And they was calling, let me get some of that filet
Yeah.
mignon. Let me get 2 of them.
Man, they was
going crazy.
good.
They couldn't spell caviar. Let me get some of that caviar. You know what I mean? Don Perigny.
It's good. This is good.
Don Perigny.
Yeah. Put some bruschetta on.
Yeah, bruschetta. Man, those bills were insane.
Nah, for real.
That bill was
Nobody
crazy.
gave him a call. Say,
Nobody say, hey, Hammer.
No, they said they gonna keep this money train going.
We deserve that.
Keep it going.
That's why
What you need, Hammer? What you need, Hammer? What you need, Big Dog?
Yeah.
They don't give him everything he wants out, so
Right.
they keep their zone going.
Nobody came to Hammer and said, hey, bro, these
Big
dudes
dog.
have been in the hotel for a month.
A month plus.
Yeah, month plus. Ordering the best meals.
we afford this book?
Room service. On top of room service. On top of room service.
They chilling.
Or I'ma help you pay it back.
They're living there now.
Or-
They're
yeah.
living there.
Or I'm gonna help you pay it back, bro. We all had a good time. We all gotta come together and do something.
No. What we gonna do, Hammer? What we gonna do? I ain't got no money. What we gonna do?
Yeah, the bill is $21,000.
What we gonna do?
A night.
What you want me to tell them?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh my goodness. Let's keep going, man. Let's get back in the class. No, you're good. Let's get in the class.
But you know what? I gotta bring this up
the
too.
fair weather angle.
Yeah, the fair weather angle.
Yeah, okay.
Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 19.
Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 19.
One in
Read.
verse 8 too.
Yeah, read that.
Verse 8,
Oh, let's show you one's verse go.
Yeah, read this real quick.
19.
Yeah.
No, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Come. Says, come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth.
So the Most High, this is why the Most High makes wisdom so hard to obtain, because He knows that the hearts of men are fickle and phony, and this is why He makes wisdom at a distance. He keeps wisdom at a distance because He makes people prove themselves before He hands wisdom over to them. He says, in order to get wisdom, you got to come to one that's plowing and sowing. Go ahead.
And wait for her good fruits.
And you got to be patient. You got to work hard and be patient. Read on.
Says, for thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her.
It says, yeah, but if the Most High puts wisdom at a distance where you got to work for it and earn it. Read on.
But thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon.
But if you can endure the toil and the labor, you can reap the benefits of wisdom. Read on.
She is very unpleasant to the unlearned.
But if somebody's trying to get wisdom whose intention is not pure, then the process of obtaining wisdom becomes too grievous and too full of torment and too painful, simply because their intention is not pure. I want wisdom for the wrong reason. And if I want wisdom for the wrong reason, then this is not worth the work that I'm putting in it to get it, because it's too painful or too grievous. Read on.
He that is without understanding.
But but that's for that person that's without understanding. That except this is the part of the process that it takes to gain wisdom from the Most High. It takes labor, it takes patience, and it takes a long time of being in order. Read on.
Will not remain with her.
It said will not do what?
Will not remain with her.
And this is why the Most High makes a person wait it out and bust their butt for an unknown amount of time before wisdom shows up at their door. Because if your intentions are not pure, you'll be exposed.
That's an insincere desires.
Just like in a relationship. We tell a young woman, don't sleep with a man. If you want to know what this man's about, don't sleep with him. Guess what'll happen? Over time, after he ain't getting no benefit, this man will bounce.
Yeah.
He'll say, man, what am I here for? What am I doing all these sacrifices for?
Yeah.
I ain't getting nothing out the deal. I'm out of here.
Now you know what you got.
Now you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
But you don't really know what
And then you maintain your virtue by doing that.
Yes, you do. By keeping that person at a distance. The Most High does the same thing with wisdom. He keeps wisdom at a distance.
Yep.
You're not gonna get it until you apply what the Most High said is necessary. A lot of hard work, plowing and sowing, and a lot of waiting to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're there for the wrong reason, what's gonna happen? Read on.
It says, she will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial.
Trial. He said, man, this is too heavy. This is too much, man. This is not worth it.
Yep.
I'm gonna throw all this just to get this rank, to get this position, to get I gotta do all this to get this rank. Then maybe this rank ain't worth it.
It ain't that worth it. It ain't that serious.
It ain't that serious, man. Y'all making this harder than what it is.
I just came to read the Bible, man.
You know, I just can't read the Bible and get a paycheck.
Yep.
But if I got to do all this to get ranked,
No.
it's not worth it. That's why you have to put stop guards in between everything, because you need to see people's
True
intentions.
Yep.
Read on.
And he will cast her from him it belongs.
It said, and for a person whose intention is not pure, they ain't gonna wait
No. When they cast it, they gonna get rid of this burden quickly.
quickly,
It ain't gonna take long.
and that's fine.
And cast or belong. Talking about, I'm looking for other options. I'm gonna start searching through the internet of opportunities. I'm start looking for other options because I don't like my situation. I don't like this. I don't like the sentiment or what I'm investing in.
This is too much.
Yeah, so you start finding C's, D's, and all the way to Z's, different alternative strategies versus just riding out and letting the Most High be the one to really ordain you or bless you or lift you out off the dunghill, lift you out the dust.
And that's how the Most High exposed those opportunistic personalities.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? People that I'm just here for a quick come up. The Most High know how to stretch things out. He knows how to stretch the blessing out to expose people.
He's a master of that.
He's a master at it. You can't deceive the Most High, bro. You can't mock the Most High. He said, "Cast it ere be long." Go ahead.
It says, for wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifest unto many.
And that's why a lot of people don't get wisdom, because the process is difficult. And what it takes, you get exposed in the process if you're not pure. If your intentions aren't right, you don't reap the benefits of wisdom. So the Most High stretches wisdom out for a purpose, because He wants to see, what are you getting? What do you want this wisdom for? Are you trying to feed your own belly? Are you trying to look good? Are you trying to sit in the seat of authority? Are you trying to just glorify in rank? What do you want this wisdom for? You know what I'm saying? So the Most High does that to expose people. Yes, sir.
On that point, I had a precept for you.
What you got?
Proverbs chapter 8, verse 12.
Go ahead and read it.
I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge of witty inventions. Because you were talking about on the point of being able to find out the intention.
Your purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, but I just wanted to harp on the fact of how the Most High stretches it out.
Right, that's the point. Right.
But that wasn't really sharp on that point.
Okay.
So let's get back in the verse. Let's get back in Samuel. 2 Samuel. You got any more of that verse?
No, 2 Samuel was we just read the end of 1 Samuel, where he was showing how
He took his crown,
the armor bearer
piece, right?
Yeah, the armor bearer wouldn't do it, but this Amalekite did. Saul's own armor bearer was too afraid to take his life, but this Amalekite of another nation saw an opportunity, and he took Saul's life. So let's go back to where we're at in 2 Samuel.
We was on verse 15.
Time.
Yeah. 2 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
And David called one of the young men and said, go near and fall upon him. And he smote him that he died. And David said unto him, thy blood be upon thy head, for thy mouth hath testified against thee, saying, I have slain the Most High's anointed.
Man, he said you said it out of your own mouth. Go ahead.
And David lamented with his lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan his son. Also,
hold on, bro. Read verse 13 again.
God says, and David said unto the young man that told him, whence art thou? And he answered, I am the son of a stranger, an Amalekite.
Go ahead.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Says,
Basically, that's
and
what-
David's
Who are you? Who are you? Where are you from?
and David said unto him, How wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thine hand to destroy the Most High's anointed?
Right. Like, why would you take it upon yourself to feel that you were qualified, or the Most High had given you that authority? You know what gave you even?
Because the crazy is, Most High could have sat back here and pulled Saul out of that situation if
Yeah.
it was up to him. Why do you got to do that? Why do you have to do that situation?
Remember he said, I knew for a fact that he couldn't live.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the armor bearer said, the Amalekite said, I knew that there was no opportunity for him to live.
Yeah.
He says, verse 10, so I stood upon him and slew him because I was sure that he could not live after that he was fallen.
You sure?
He said, I was sure. What is that called?
That's your pride. That's your opinion.
That was an opinion. That was this Amalekite's opinion. It had nothing to do with, let me make sure, is this right by the Most High? Will the Most High would respect this decision to slay Saul? He didn't have no conscience towards the Most High in his decision making.
But he had a conscience of getting that money though.
But he saw it, yeah, exactly. His conscience was on that bracelet. He saw that bracelet, and you know that crown.
Nice.
You know that crown was off the chain too.
Yeah,
you know that bracelet was fire.
First King.
Wow.
Yeah. So, read on.
Says, also, verse 18. Also,
No, you're not in verse 18. You're in verse 15.
Oh, come. And David called one of the young men and said, Go near and fall upon him. And he smote him that he died. And David said unto him, Thy blood be upon the head,
Thy head.
and upon thy head, for thy mouth hath testified against thee, saying, I have slain the Most High's anointed. And David lamented with his lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan, his son.
This is a bad day, bro. Lost his best friend and his king.
Yeah.
And his master.
His father.
And he's realizing this guy is just sitting back here out clout chasing and to get some recognition. Let's keep going.
Come. Also he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher.
First of all, I want to make sure we're clear on this. What verse was that where it said the book of Jasher?
That was verse 18, sir.
Listen, read that verse again.
Come. 2 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 18. Also he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher.
And a lot of people, listen, there's no proof and guarantee what book of Jasher this is.
Right.
Everybody wants to sit back and read this verse or the verse that was talked about Jasher in Joshua as a justification to read that book of Jasher that was full of bones and weird philosophies that they try to interject in with the scriptures. There's no proof that book of Jasher that's being sold at all the bookstores is the actual book of Jasher that's being talked about in verse 18.
Right.
And that's very important for us to understand because there's too many bones in that book of Jasher for it to be lined up with these scriptures. And that's why we don't go read that book of Jasher, because it's not canon, but it's not, the information doesn't line up with the scripture, so you can't use that as the template of what the real book of Jasher was.
People try to force it.
They force it because you know why? Because people are bored. They want to get more information and look smart and wise. I read this book and I read this book and this makes me an authority. It doesn't. What people don't understand is what good is all the knowledge and words and verses and information if you're not living it?
Right.
It's just hollow information. It's like hollow calories, shallow calories, so to speak. It doesn't sit back here and help you in any way. I just want to make sure we're clear on that Jasher angle. People that sit back and say, this is why I got that book here at the house in my library.
Scripture is a simple believer of every word.
Exactly.
You haven't taken the time to truly 100% validate with actual point for point. Does this match the Bible?
Exactly.
He's gonna sit here. The book says Jasher on the cover. This says Jasher. Must be the book of Jasher.
Nope.
It says Enoch. Must be the book of Enoch.
Right.
You can't just go off that, bro.
You cannot.
It takes a lot of examination, a lot of time, and yeah, I see scrolls and all kinds of stuff going on, bro. But people are likely. Esau knows people are like that. So they like to intermittent foreign concepts and doctrines in the midst of those supposed books,
Mhm.
so that we can rip the spiritual community apart, because there's gonna be a difference of opinion. It happens all the time.
Or I know something you don't know.
Oh, that's the big one.
There's knowledge puffeth up. Even though this knowledge
We used to always call Israel like coffee house Israelites. They'll sit back here, they got this information, and they'll sit back here and say, did you know about this book that we read that was dated back in the BC time? And now I can sit back here, I can come off fanciful and knowledgeable, but have no way to show application in real life consideration of how to live this book. So listen, another way to explain it, there's a lot of Israelites who are academic Israelites,
Yeah.
a lot of Israelites who actually live it. It even shows you back in the 70s, even in the military scenarios, where a lot of these guys that came out the military or came out of college, and they had their bars, they had their officer stripes, and they sat back here and thrown out here in the damn jungle in Vietnam, and guess what happened? All the dudes that was in the grind that knew what real wartime was about, they ended up taking those officers out. Because they were leading those men to destruction. Just because you had some college information and you got some war strategies on paper, don't mean you know how to deal in the damn mud and in the grime and the damn difficulties of war. These guys didn't understand war, and they would lead men to the death.
And that's
So what men would do is they would sit back here and set these guys up,
right.
and follow the real men who actually knew what war was about and what real leadership was about. Because you can't sit back and operate in a position of leadership and knowledge if you ain't living it. It just doesn't work.
And that academic mindset is really a trooper mentality, bro.
Good.
It's a trooper mindset. When a trooper comes in, I have no experience.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna start reading and collecting information, because I'm supposed to use the momentum of this information to motivate me into acting and involve myself into action.
Mm-hmm.
It's academic information is supposed to be a motivator to get to the next stage. You're not supposed to just stay
Academic in
I
perpetuity.
just got stuck in this stage where I couldn't get past this line of belief.
Yeah.
I couldn't get past this line of belief to where my actions show this
The
information.
only way I understand faith is through Moses. The only way I understand patience and long suffering is through the people that read in the Bible. I don't have anything in my own repertoire personally to say this is when the Most High drugged me through the mud and taught me patience,
Nice
taught me long suffering, taught me understanding. That's where most Israel is. Most Israel's the only way they can talk about faith is talking about Moses, which is great, but that's the beginning.
And this is what
Hebrews are saying.
And this is why the Pharisees were so off, because the Pharisees are phenomenal academics and lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
but application when it comes to the poor, application when it comes to mercy, patience,
And happy.
application when it comes to sitting here and working with your people, they didn't want that experience
Yeah.
because they were above it.
On that book of Jasher. The book of Jasher, also called Pseudo-Jasher, is an 18th century literary forgery by Jacob
wow.
Eliv. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, go straight down to the point.
For it to have been written in the 1800s, you know it's a damn crap.
Yeah.
A load of crap.
It says the supposed lost book was declared an obvious hoax by Monthly Review in the December of the year of publication, and the printer Jacob Eliv was sentenced in 1756 to 3 years in jail.
That's hilarious.
For his fraud
Wow.
and for his radical anti-religious pamphlets.
Where is that?
That was in Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It was right there.
A lot of
the
people-
whole time you got all these. We go to the book of Jasher and put it first here in the book of Jasher.
I don't care what nobody says. If it says Jasher, it's got to be Jasher.
Yeah.
But this is crazy.
It said many forgeries were written that said that they were the book of Jasher.
Kinda.
Many books were said to be the book of Jasher. Many writers, wrote false forgeries.
People want that
Because
glory.
everybody wants that glory and they want to shine. Is
this-
that the real book? Like the Amalekite?
Like Amalekite. Hey man, he reincarnated. I got
he was reincarnated and all that. He was Amalek.
I got another one.
That's crazy.
What's he gonna do for me?
Listen, I expected 1 million copies sold. Anyway, let's get back and we have a lot of verses to go to today.
Yeah.
So we're at 2 Samuel chapter 1 verse 19 now, right?
Yes, sir. Come. It says, 2 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 19. The beauty of Israel is slain upon thy high places. How are the mighty fallen? Tell it not in Gath. Publish it not in the streets.
He's like this fall of this great man shouldn't be published in these Philistine nations.
Yeah.
Because these Philistine nations are going to make mockery of a great man.
Exactly.
This almost comes off like it's a eulogy,
It is.
or it's a communication in respect to the fallen.
It was a song.
Exactly. Continue.
Publish it not in the streets of Ascalon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph.
And so they don't make these songs in mockery of our king, like we was making songs about the mockery of their kings,
Right.
because they know how it goes. Read on.
Verse 21. Ye mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew,
Yep.
neither let there be rain upon you, nor fields of offerings. For there the shield of the mighty is violently cast away, the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil.
Mm-hmm.
From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan turned not back.
He says Jonathan fought to the end. Jonathan fought to the end. Jonathan sat back here and didn't turn away from the battle.
And can I say one thing? And Jonathan was he expert at the bow? 'Cause I remember David. He said when he shot the bow,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you would know.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, yeah, well, you can't say he was an expert at the bow,
Okay.
but kind of. I remember that when
Well,
he
let's
said
ask
he
the
would
question.
shoot the bow, and he was in the woods to determine where they could meet up so they could talk about
Yeah.
if Jonathan smoothed things over with Saul,
He
right?
just had a connection with the bow. That's all I was
Got
asking.
it. Continue.
And the sword of Saul returned not empty.
Mm-hmm.
Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives,
Yeah.
and in their death they were not divided.
First of all, what it's also showing you is that David had the ability to forgive Saul for everything he put him through, and he had the ability to sit back here and not take all the difficulties that he went through personally. Yeah, but I'm gonna say this: if we don't, as Israelites, learn this ability, then we're limited in how far we can grow. We just talked about, Shamshawan brought out the fact, about the fact that if you don't suffer things, how do you know who's with you, right? How do you know who's with you unless there's suffering and difficulties surrounding the process? But on the flip side, how can you grow and have these fruits of the Spirit without the suffering? You can't grow until you're hurt, let down, taken advantage of. And then you're put back in the situation to have to forgive.
And then you got to wait on the Most High to pull you out of it.
God.
And there's no
God.
escaping.
And you know, what's crazy? What frustrates people is the loss. But what also frustrates people is the turnover to how much time it takes to get back to what you lost. To get back from where you lost.
It takes years.
It takes years to
10
recover from the damage that people do to you.
And a lot of times you don't want to go through it again.
And then there's a trauma that comes from behind. There's a fear of being, I need y'all to kind of be quiet in the back so we can stay focused in class. But there's a trauma that comes from being concerned about being put in situations to be let down again.
Yeah.
And that's part of the fear, but that's also part of how the Most High heals us. You have to get hurt, you have to get let down, and then you have to sit back here, build yourself back up, and then be reminded and learn how to forgive and to move on again. Because the reality is this: whose timetable are we on?
Not our own.
But like idiots, we have our plan. We have our 10-year plan, our 5-year plan. We have our plan how we're supposed to be when we're 40.
Yeah.
We have an expectation of where we're supposed to be in our life, in our circumstances when we're 50, when our children grow up. And the Most High is like, my plan is for you to grow in patience. My plan is for you to grow in long suffering. My plan is for you to sit back here. I even look at our plan. We're back here in rebuild mode, rebuilding a school that we had 15 some odd years ago.
Yeah, I'm like, bro.
It's like we're going.
we did this.
It feels like we're going back in circles, and when it's burnt off 15 years.
Because we had, when I came in, bro, we had a school.
Yeah.
And we owned the school.
Yes.
And all we had to do was pay our taxes.
Yeah.
Like anybody else.
Yeah. Everything was gonna be okay.
There wasn't no war for like.
Now we're back for the hunt for Red October again. Now it's a stupid movie. We're back in war mode, having to reestablish something we already lost. And the question is, why the hell do we got to turn up and push to the max again? It's because ultimately the Most High wants us here again. And I can sit back here and focus on the woulda, coulda, shouldas. What's fair, what's unfair. Why do we got to keep repeating the same day over and over again like it's Groundhog Day?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we ever grow and evolve past this situation? And the true answer is because the Most High wants us here again. And He wants us to be at peace with all the time that a carnal man can look at and say, we just burnt and wasted. Honestly, we can Most High, listen, we have to choose this day, life or death. Mm-hmm. We have to choose how we look at our day and our circumstances and our situations. Can I look at what I've done and what we've done for these 15, 20 years and see the good works and how the Most High has worked with us and kept us in a position to continue to grow? Or am I going to sit back here and just look at everything I've gone through in my life as a waste of time, and it's just me spinning my wheels over and over and over again until I go back in the earth?
Or do I use the stress to justify my distancing myself from people?
Exactly.
And use this opportunity to say
this is why I don't want to give my spirit again.
This is why I can't give my spirit. I don't trust people no more.
Yep.
This is why I don't fool with people.
You know what they're saying? This is why I don't trust the Most High anymore.
Right.
This is why I don't mess with the Most High anymore. People can sit back here and say what they want about being let down. People can sit back and say what they want about losing time and suffering this and suffering this. But ultimately, our path is laid out in front of us because the Most High wants us to follow this path. We can sit back here and act like we can put fingers on people and different people did this and I'm in this situation. But ultimately, the Most High has got us in a situation where we're here and our responsibility is still to please the Most High. Our responsibility is still to do His work at the highest possible rate we can do it.
Regardless of the situation.
Regardless of what I've lost.
Yeah.
Yep.
Regardless if I feel that I'm spinning my wheels. That has nothing to do with my responsibility to please the Heavenly Father. This is something for all of us to be conscious of, because there's been countless of people who have detached themselves from pleasing the Heavenly Father because of offenses.
Yep.
Because they were let down. But then they expect to not give the Most High what He requires, but for the Most High to understand that they were hurt, and this is why they stopped giving to Him.
Yep.
That's where the insanity kicks in. I want to stop giving. I'm not going to say. I want to stop giving, and I want to blame brothers for where I'm at. But then I expect the Most High to gloss over the fact that I stopped giving to Him.
Yep.
I stop, because how do I honor the Most High? How does anybody honor the Most High?
Your service.
In your service to who?
Your brother.
And that's the point. We are still being determined and judged by our service towards our brothers. But if I detach myself from my service to my brothers, then what have I detached myself from? So I can sit back here and be on this commandment kick all damn day long. But if I have detached myself from the body, I am in danger of hellfire. I can sit back and blame this person and this person. The scripture said offenses will abound. Does that justifies me not giving to brothers again? Trying again? A lot of people are going to fall short of the kingdom when these nukes come down. Because they got an excuse. This brother hurt me. And this is why I don't give no more. You're on the hook.
Right.
You can convince yourself and have all this anger and be turned up. But when the Most High, He's going to say this. Did you feed my sheep?
Right.
Did you feed my lambs?
Did you turn the other cheek?
Did you turn the other cheek? The people who needed you. Were you there? And the answer is going to be no, because I was emotional and angry that I had to sit back here and be inconvenienced and get hurt. But aren't we servants? So our job is to be servants. Then there's no getting around this point. We have to serve the body. We have to be a servant to what the people need.
Okay.
So I'm just reading what.
No, that's cool. That's me. It's just asking the scripture.
Yeah. Okay. Go to Ecclesiasticus.
No.
No. I already answered that question for her. But Ecclesiasticus 29. I said it earlier. Ecclesiasticus 29:7. Read that.
Okay.
I answered that question earlier.
Sorry about that.
So that's what she said to water.
Oh.
Said verse 7?
Yep.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 29 and verse 7. Many therefore have refused to lend for other men's ill dealing, fearing to be defrauded.
But you know, that doesn't mean when everything is said and done, that person that refuses to give because of ill dealing is going to be justified when he gets judged. It's like, I understand why a person doesn't want to give again, but listen, you know, this is what brothers, a lot of times when we're in counsel sessions with them, brothers will tell me why things went bad, why I'm angry, why I'm detached, why I don't care anymore, why I don't give anymore, why I stopped giving. And then they'll tell me this, and I'll say, you know what? That's a very good reason why you stopped doing this. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm going to change how the Most High has to force us to act, even though it's good common sense wisdom why you stopped doing it. Your reasoning makes sense, but it's still not justified.
It's not justified.
Listen, I know why people stop giving. I understand when a person gets burnt and taken advantage of, they don't want to do it no more. I understand that.
Your trust is broken.
I understand hurt. I understand being let down. But that doesn't mean in the eyes of the Most High you're going to be backed because of it, because of your excuse. And people, they want this excuse to be accepted as to why my negativity is here. And I should be accepted for being negative because I have a good excuse for being
It's
negative.
a freedom card. Huh?
Nobody has an excuse for being negative.
You know, and this is what separates the no campers,
Yeah.
the brothers that exist in camps. Like
And that's the
Yahweh
point.
say, the no campers out.
Yeah.
Non-churchers.
The non-churches are. That camp idea, it sounds real good until you say church.
Yeah.
Because a camp is a church.
Yes.
A camp is a church. So you say no camps, you're saying no church.
Mhm.
If there was no internet, then guess what? We all be messed up then, right?
It'd be a problem.
There would be no. Listen, there's camps because there wasn't bandwidth out here. Right?
Yep. Yep. 'Cause
So
I sit back here and I've seen men from the mid-90s
Yeah.
talk about this head, that head, this guy's weakness, that guy's weakness. You know what I never hear people say? I stayed in and I fought through it
I fixed it.
so I can help the next generation so they don't got to go through what I went through. How come nobody talks about that? How come nobody wants to sit back here and endure and do it better? Be more, because once that person gets to the top, then they'll know why those guys got weak. Then they'll know why those guys sat back here and made those mistakes.
They'll make worse
Because it ain't as easy
God.
as you think.
You know, a lot of times that justification is not to have to suffer yourself to be in subjection to somebody else that may have the opportunity to hurt you again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that justification to go solo. Or I'm going to go start my own camp.
Yep.
I'm going to start my own group of believers because I don't want to be in subjection to putting myself in a position to where I have to get hurt again.
Good.
Or I got to trust again. And that's where that justification to detach myself comes from. I don't want to be hurt no more.
Yep.
It's fear. It's
Yep.
a lack of trust.
And you're going to get judged on that fear. You're going to get judged for removing yourself from your lessons and your growth. And everybody can pull out their violin and they can play it. Well, I was hurt. I was taken advantage of. I can't go higher. My voice can't go higher. They did me wrong. Everybody can pull that card. Our answer is now what? You still have a responsibility to give to the body. You still have a responsibility to follow and learn and grow.
I tried the Israelite thing, it didn't work.
Okay. Then when everything is said and done, we'll see what you're looking at when it's time for judgment. But you know what the truth is? I get it. And none of us have that justifiable out. Sis, you had a question earlier. I'm so sorry.
I think you answered it.
Did I?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I was just asking if you don't, if somebody upsets you and you're not around people and you're supposed to forgive them, but you're still supposed to give to the body, because if not, you're just going to be hurting yourself. You're not.
The scripture says, do good to the godly men. We're still have a responsibility. We still have to understand that the reason we're going through all these changes is because we're here fighting to work with people that are trying to serve the Most High like we are. It's hard to play by these rules when cats aren't trying to play by the rules we're playing by. The scripture said with people out in the world, we're supposed to be at peace with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the best you're going to get from a worldly relationship to a spiritual relationship. But with your brothers and your sisters in your camp body or your church body, that's where you can't let the sun go down upon that wrath. You got to work on all these things inside. Get what I'm saying?
Turn the other cheek.
Turn the other cheek with the body of Christ that you work with. Because if you turn the other cheek with these cats in the world, you're going to be turning forever. You're going to turn your left cheek, right cheek. You're going to the high right cheekbone, the chin,
Yeah.
the forehead. You're going to get the nose. You're going to get busted up continuously. Because you can't, it's a different set of rules by them out there. Amongst us, there's a different expectation for everybody involved. And that's the whole thing.
And if I'm an Old Testament Israelite, go to Leviticus chapter 24 real quick. Leviticus chapter 24 and start at verse 19 real fast.
Come. Leviticus chapter 24 and verse 19.
Just read 19 and 20.
Come. Reads, and if a man cause a blemish in his neighbor,
If I've offended my neighbor, read on.
as he have done,
You know what's justice? This is justice. You hurt me, so the Most High says, I'm just and I'm upright to do what?
it says, so shall it be done to him.
It says, as he hath done, so shall it be done to him. That means I have every right to pay you back for whatever you did to me. You've offended me, I got all right by the Most High to offend you. It's called payback. That's revenge. Revenge is justice. And God said it. So if I'm an Old Testament Israelite, because there's many Old Testament Israelites, I don't have to go past this verse. I'm justified in my negative. I'm justified in my revenge. I'm justified in my hate. Read on.
It says, breach for breach.
Breach for breach. Whatever you broke my trust, so I get to break your trust. Breach for breach. Read.
Eye for eye.
You hurt my eye, I get to hurt your eye. Read on.
Tooth for tooth.
You knock my tooth out, I get to knock your tooth out. That's law. That's justice. That's equality. That's righteousness. Read on.
As he had caused a blemish in a man,
Because you blemish me, read on.
so shall it be done to him again.
And so I get to blemish you. The Most High is fair. Now a lot of people,
Turning the other cheek.
and don't turn the other cheek. A lot of people like to believe that because I'm an Old Testament Israelite and I
He's
subscribe,
explaining an Old Testament approach, not Christ's approach.
not Christ's approach. I'm saying that there's a lot of Israelites who only believe in the Old Testament. But see and if I only believe in the Old Testament, then I feel like I'm justified because I was able to punish this person that punished me.
They don't believe in Paul. They don't believe in Paul.
Yeah.
They have this weird concept.
Yeah,
that
some of these guys.
Some guys
Sakari
say-
and them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some guys said Paul didn't exist. The Muslims, you had that cat that you
Oh,
dealt
yeah,
with.
they knew Paul existed. They just hated Paul because of what Paul stood for, as being the one mainly responsible for creating the Christian church.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And spreading the gospel, and that's why they hated Paul. They knew he existed. They just didn't like him.
Well, the ones he's talking about said Paul wasn't true, or there was
You know,
debates
I
about.
heard Paul never existed. a brother, quote unquote, said,
It's horrible.
yeah, you know, brother, back in the day, he said,
Oh.
you know,
I lived at the bee house the other
yeah,
side.
yeah, you know,
Horrible.
He said Paul never existed. And how can we prove that all these events happened? Well, but why are you Israelite, bro?
That was
If you don't-
planted in the desert, Paul?
Yeah, I guess I didn't even believe Paul existed.
These are just different wackadoodle angles. Because even what Shamshawan is saying is that there's people that want to pick and choose
Sides.
aspects of the doctrine to justify what's inside of them.
Oh, pick and choose what they want to believe.
And, so, and
Right.
that's why Shamshawan said that those Old Testament Israelites, there's certain people that just want to focus on eye for an eye, payback. I'm going to take advantage of you because you took advantage of me. And that's why they hold on to these resentments. But if you sit back and read the Bible in its totality, like you'll read in Hebrews 10 and 7, the Most High comes in a volume of the book, then you have to accept and learn that there's also about forgiveness, turning the other cheek,
there's maturity
mercy,
involved.
patience, long suffering. It's the entire. We have to learn to embrace and encompass the entire part of the book. But you have these Israelites, like Shamshawan said, that only want to focus on Old Testament. You got guys that want to eradicate half the damn New Testament, saying that Paul ain't real. That just nullifies everything after damn John in Acts.
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
Right.
So this is what he's explaining.
And that's why Christ had to make an amendment to the law. And the amendment is this: read Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. That's why there had to be an amendment made, because people want to stick to what they see and they feel like, okay, that I like that verse, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, because I feel like because you hurt me, I can hurt you too, and I'm justified by doing so. So the amendment in the law is what Christ brought forth to explain that wasn't the purpose of the law. There was more to the law than just payback, revenge. What was more to Christ is giving more understanding of the law. Read verse 43.
Just real quick, because Luke 24 and 45 says that. We're not going there. But Christ came to give understanding of the law. It wasn't that what Moses said was wrong. There was just different layers of understanding that we had to grow and evolve to. Us coming out of Egypt, all we knew was pain, retribution, payback. But as we grew and developed, we had to understand there was more to life than just eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. But keep going, sir.
Go ahead.
Come. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy.
Go ahead.
But I say unto you,
But Christ came to give an understanding, an amendment to the law. That's not wrong. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth is not wrong. But if you really want the Most High's favor, read on.
says, But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you.
He said, but there's more growth than just what you interpret in the Old Testament law. If you really want to be right in the eyes of the Most High, then take it a step further and do what?
It says, do good to them that hate you,
Read on.
and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you,
Go ahead.
that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven.
So he said, if you really want to be like the Most High, the laws just keeps the land equitable. It keeps people on the earth fair and equitable,
Just.
and also there's a consequence to my actions. If I hurt somebody, I just can't hurt somebody with no consequence.
And exactly.
So that's what the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That there's consequences and repercussions to my actions, and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's almost like the beginning rudimentary, meaning the beginning parts of the law was based upon keeping people from offending.
Right.
Meaning, if I do this, if I take this from you, if I take your life, I have to lose what I just took.
Exactly.
It's really the foundation of it was to keep the offender at bay.
Yeah.
Is it to keep the person who wants to do the offending in the back of their mind? If I do this offense, this same offense is going to happen to me. It was supposed to teach the offender to be considerate. It wasn't meant for the person who was offended to sit back here and just give themselves to the spirit of anger and redemption, and I had to forcefully take back what's mine. That wasn't the pure purpose of it, because we were all supposed to be in the capacity to forgive. But the crazy thing is, if it's just one way, the other person can be free to do what they want to do. Is did what I said make sense? For example, Eli, right? I go back to Eli in 1 Samuel. Eli and his sons. Eli let his sons do negative to people. They were taking bribes. They were assaulting the women at the temple. They were doing a lot of foul things, and because of it, the Most High said Eli and his family of priests were going to get wiped out. That was the punishment. That was the judgment. But who would have thought that Saul was the person that executed the judgment that the Most High wanted on Eli's family when he wiped out all the priests, right? But that didn't mean that what Saul did was right either. So part of the reason why Saul had to go out the way he did was how he treated and killed all those priests.
Right.
That was why he got hit. So
Unjustifiable.
he wasn't justified in doing it, but his actions served a consequence as well. So what's the point? I can't just sit back here and operate thinking that I can do what I want to do because you did something to me and not know that there's going to be something that comes back to me for doing it.
There are consequences, there are judgments for actions.
Exactly the point.
And the law taught consequences and judgments. I can't do what I want to do. Like Esau thinks, I'm going to do what I want to do, and there's never going to be retribution. You're always going to serve me. I'm always going to be on the top. It's always going to be my way.
And this is why the Most High says, vengeance is mine. Said the Lord. The Most High was the one who was going to ultimately execute the judgment.
But I have one thing to say. Because Shashawan had went into the idea of, he had went into that turn the other cheek.
Yep.
I just want to say that people always misunderstand that scripture because of the church taught, okay, if the white person hurts you, or that slave mentality. If the white man whips you, beats you, takes advantage of you, you're supposed to turn the other cheek. And what it does, when you're a new person in the Bible, it makes you not want to read the scriptures because like you're supposed to be a slave forever.
Yeah.
Or the Muslim answer, the Nation of Islam will be like, the Bible's off because it's telling you to serve your master, and it's telling you to sit here and turn the other cheek to the white man who's been doing you wrong for 400 years.
That's what Malcolm X said.
So that's going to get you hyped. I'm like, don't put that book down. I'm putting the Bible down. I'm going to read this Bible. Not knowing that the enemy is talking about the enemy of your own people.
Yep.
Which is brothers and sisters that you're going to deal with in the truth and in life that are in opposition to where you're going. Spiritually. That are against the benefits of your life. Or do things that are in their selfishness that have an effect on your spirit. Right? So those enemies, it's talking about, it's not turning the other cheek of the Ammonites and the Amalekites and the Edomites and the Hamites and the Egyptians. And we're not turning the cheek on the Egyptians. We're not turning the cheek on the Edomites. We're turning the cheek on nations that take advantage of our people.
But it said hate not an Edomite because he's not a brother.
I'm not gonna hate him.
Yeah, we ain't gonna hate you.
We're not sitting back here having no summits with each other, hanging out with Edomites.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and make it about, man, we gotta forgive them. Listen, we gotta move on with our life, and Most High gonna judge them. But amongst our own people, we have to deal. We have to deal and hopefully come to a positive solution.
Okay.
And that's the Most High giving man rules and laws for the purpose of checks and balances. And that's what the consequences and repercussions is about. It's about keeping order on earth. If you didn't have a person that had a fear that if I knocked out your tooth and I gotta lose a tooth, I'm gonna knock everybody's teeth out.
I'm gonna keep knocking out teeth until I redeem myself.
That's the
He is a habitual line stepper. There'll be a whole lot of habitual line steppers.
Half of Israel have about 3 teeth in their whole mouth. Because there's no consequence. There's no consequence to my action, so I feel like I can just bang everybody's teeth out. But you know what? At least it keeps me in check, knowing that if I knock your tooth out, I get the same reward back to me. At least that's a preventative measure.
That's how you keep beasts at bay.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We came out of Egypt rolling like straight animals. You know, the only way to keep these guys in check is to sit back and establish these consequences. Because if not, they're going to just roll and do what they want to do. But then Israel took that concept and turn into a mob. And this is my justification to be a mob.
Yep.
Because if you did this to me, I want to see blood. You got to die tonight. But that wasn't the intention behind it.
But he
and
couldn't.
Christ gave understanding.
He couldn't give us all
about
this.
the
We were
intention.
fresh. We were newborns out of Egypt as a nation.
God. So you know what the truth is? Just to keep the beast at bay,
God.
you fed the mob. The mob mentality was fed just to control the basic beast mentality that we had. And then Christ came down and gave a further evolved understanding of what it was about. Does that make sense? Okay. Any more?
Yes, sir. Finish that.
Verse 45.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 45. That ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven.
Because just because you keep the law, don't make you like the Most High. That still doesn't qualify you to say that you're the child of the Most High because you keep the law.
Huh?
You have to go past just the law in order to be qualified and called the child of the Most High. Because if you really want to be like the Most High and be one of the Most High's children, then you have to graduate past an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Read on.
For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good.
You gotta, if you want to be like the Most High, then you gotta be merciful like the Most High is merciful.
Right.
He's merciful to the who?
To the evil and on the good.
The Most High he still lets the evil get the sunlight.
Right.
Yeah.
The sun still rises on the evil.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
both, yeah.
He gets to them both.
The evil's lights are still on.
They still, their lights are still going.
Mortgage is paid.
You know what I'm saying? The gas still cut on.
Exactly that.
The heater work. You know what I'm saying? They still got food in the fridge.
No doubt.
It would be one like thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts come out the sky, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Read on.
It says, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust.
That means rain brings prosperity and growth.
Yeah.
So they still move, they still grow. If you really want to be like the Most High, you have to come out. You have to grow out of just the law. The law says eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. You got to get past that. You gotta ultimately, regardless of the negative of people, you still got to do good to them.
Right.
You still got to do right to them. You still got to extend to them as much as possible, and be fair to them. Read on.
It says, for if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye?
And that's hard to do. It's easy, actually. Following the law would be easier than have to come back and extend to somebody that you know you have a problem with.
Huh?
Yeah.
Following the law is easier.
Oh yeah.
Because the law.
He hurt me, so I can cut him off forever.
Then that, you know
That's
what? Then I'm
easy.
justified. That's easy. You know what Christ's saying is? The harder thing to do is to love somebody that you know don't like you. That's even harder. And because it's harder, that makes you more like the Most High, because you're coming out of yourself.
But the question is this: what does it mean to love him? What does it mean to love him?
Keep giving to him.
Yes and no. What I mean is this: a lot of times, before I can keep giving to a person, I have to accept a person for who they are. I have to learn to forgive them. I have to eliminate all the malice in my heart towards what a person did, to be in position to accept their apologies, to be in position to do well. Does that make sense? Having to have the willingness to let go of the offense and to not let that resentment eat at me from the inside, because that's what's hard. I can sit back here, I can give somebody a damn fruitcake. I can buy some nasty ass fruitcake, give you a gift, and say I'm showing love.
Right.
That ain't showing love. Can I sit back here and look at you in a positive light
And not take your offenses personally.
and truly let it go? And you know the crazy thing is, it might the relationship might not be the same,
Right.
and you might not operate at the same level and pace again. But how do I look at you?
I look at you with no malice.
And that's where the love comes in. I look at you with no malice.
That's true.
I look at you with no ill will and intent.
That's what malice is ill will. And the scriptures say love causes no ill to his neighbor.
That's true.
So there's no ill responses as far as treatment coming out of me towards you. Even though David could have killed Saul a couple of times. When he was sleeping in his tent, when he was in a cave, he still didn't take matters in his own hands and show revenge, or what he felt like, his men felt like was an opportunity. To get here's your chance to get your revenge. He didn't have that mentality towards Saul.
But did he work with Saul again?
No, he didn't work with Saul again.
He didn't work with Saul again, but his outlook and his mindset to him was loving.
I didn't want to see him fall.
He didn't take matters into his own hands. He kept his distance and his order and respect. That's what we're responsible to give to the Most High. A lot of times, these relationships aren't going to be like it was at its quote-unquote apex or height. Yeah, I was going to answer that question about that. I was going to answer that question.
Okay.
But that's the point. The point is, the relationships might not be at its height. But you know what? I have a responsibility to look at every man in a pure light and understand why things went down the way they did and learn forgiveness and acceptance of the situation. So when something is brought back to my attention, when a brother is brought back to my attention, now I have a responsibility to be prepared to forgive, to be prepared to let things go.
Because there's more than one side to understanding the judgment angle.
We're going to go into it on Monday too, because I was thinking about going into this anyway, so we're going to go more into it on Monday. But also, sis, you had mentioned about alms and how alms are important. But don't forget, sis, alms, you got, listen, the scripture says do good to the godly man. We still have a responsibility to do good to the people who are trying to do good in this work.
Right? And also, alms are not for the sake of treatment towards somebody else. Alms, in Matthew chapter 6, it says, take heed that you do not your alms before men, to be seen of them, otherwise you have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Alms are for the purpose of the Most High seeing what you do. It's not for the sake, it may benefit your brother and sister, but it's not for the purpose of them only. The purpose of your alms is so that the Most High can see that you're trying. It's so that the Most High can see that you don't want any ill will. It's so that you can show the Most High, I want to recover this relationship, and I don't want tension between me and my brother. That's the purpose of the alms, is the fact that I want the Most High to be a witness of me trying to make right what is obviously a breach between me and this person.
Yeah.
So the alms is to be seen of the Most High, but it's to be done of men, but you want the Most High's recognition from it, not anybody in particular's recognition.
Yeah.
So alms is necessary, but because you want the Most High to take notice of it. I want the Most High to see this, that I want peace, that I'm trying to establish harmony, that I'm trying to establish unity.
Okay.
That's the purpose of the alms.
Okay. But in this arena, this is about, can I sit back and accept the process of what the Most High put me through? And understand he's working on the person who is, and I'm saying playing the role of the righteous and playing the role of the wicked. He's working on both sides. And the person who is the quote-unquote righteous person that was done wrong, listen, you better take heed, because if you don't take what you went through the right way, you're going to be the offender.
Yep.
And the Most High going to turn his back on you. All of us have a responsibility to be right with the Most High and not let whatever experience I went through change how I do things the next day, how I treat men the next day. And that's the challenge. Can you maintain a pure outlook? Are you going to let what's been done to you rot and eat at you from the inside to make you bitter and cold and hold that hatred in your heart? Because that's when we're judged, for holding that hatred in our heart towards our brother. Because listen, a little leaven leavens a whole lump. We like to tell ourselves that I only have hatred issues with this brother, but that negative keeps building and spreading to different people. Because if I can see the worst in one person, then I'm going to start seeing the worst in everybody that comes around me. Over time, it will eventually eat at me. Either that cancer is going to feed on me, or I'm going to eradicate that cancer. It only goes one of two ways.
One verse, Romans chapter 12, verse 17. It says, recompense to no man evil for evil. So that's what Christ said it. Yahushua said it in Matthew chapter 5, you know, that you, in order to be classified as the children of your Father, he said, love them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you or abuse you. Here Paul saying the same thing. Recompense to no man evil for evil, even though that's the law.
Yep.
Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth is the law.
Yep.
But both Yahushua and Paul are saying the same thing. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men.
Okay.
Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. But whose wrath? The Most High's wrath, not your wrath.
And I was going to go into a verse that couples with that when you finish. Keep going.
It says, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. So he said, I'll read on. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in doing so, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. So my responsibility is to not take matters in my own hands based upon my own emotion and my own justification. Because all of us, because we have an opinion and we got feelings, we ride based upon those feelings and those opinions. We treat people based upon those feelings and those opinions. I lash out because I feel like I'm justified because you pissed me off. So I'm qualified to treat you a certain way, and I'm qualified and justified to hold this negative ideal about you and keep at a distance from you. So I'm justified in the eyes of the Most High to feel these feelings that I feel about you. I don't have to let these feelings go, and that's not true. You can't harbor any malice or ill will, regardless of what you felt like somebody has done to you. You still gotta be clear yourselves of that evil. You can't harbor that negative and hold a grudge. Then I'm holding a grudge. Then in the back of my mind, I still got a negative outlook towards somebody. That's why Christ says, my judgment is just. He said, as I hear, I judge. Because Christ, Yahushua don't walk around with ill will, malice, anger, feelings, and emotions all clouded up in his mind.
God.
That doesn't cloud his judgment. He said, as I hear, I judge. So he doesn't walk around with a plethora of ammunition ready to give out because I got a whole lot of feelings and emotions and bad vibes with this person. We got a history of bad vibes. So at any moment's notice, I'm a reward you based upon whatever tension you have brought me in my life. I'm ready to. You know it's there because the minute there's a tension, you see people start bringing up stuff from a long time ago.
Yeah.
The minute there's a conflict, this person got 5 things that you didn't know nothing about thrown at you. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see you do this. Damn, you've been holding on to that for how long? It was like a powder keg moment. It just took the right spark for the situation to really come out with this person's hate.
Yep.
It just took the right spark for all this negative to be exposed. And then boom, this person drop a bomb, an emotional bomb on you. Wow, you know what, you've been this person, I felt this way about you, and you ain't never did this, and you always dealt this, you treated me like that. Really? You've been walking around with all this in your head? You've been walking around with all these feelings? But you expect to be justified in the eyes of the Most High, but you're full of feelings and emotions. And that's not justified. That's not justified in the eyes of the Most High. And that's why David didn't take matters in his own hands, even when he could have killed Saul. He still didn't take matters in his own hands, because he didn't hold any negative thoughts against him. He didn't take it personal.
God. So listen, I want to go to Ecclesiastes 4 and Ecclesiastes 3 and 17. Ecclesiastes 3 and 17.
Ecclesiastes.
We in the Bible.
In the Bible.
Yes. Because this is the reason why we're not supposed to hold grudges. We're not to sit back here and hold these resentments. This is the reason. Remember we said earlier, the reason the law was written the way it was really to curtail offenders.
Yeah.
Was really to slow offenders down so that they understand there's consequences for what they were doing. That law wasn't really it wasn't put that way so that people who were offended should be focused on retaliation.
Harbonated, yeah.
Because you're gonna see even as we keep going in Samuel how Joab's anger And Joab's desire for payback fueled him to go left in the same concept. It wasn't about consuming a person for payback. That law was established to keep the offenders in the right mindset. Read this verse. Ecclesiastes 3 and 17.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 17. I said in mine heart, the Most High shall judge the righteous.
Listen, this is what Solomon said in his mind. This is what also brought peace to him. The Most High is going to judge the righteous. Read on.
It says the Most High shall judge the righteous and the wicked.
And the wicked?
Mm-hmm.
For there is a time there for every purpose and for every work.
So you know what the truth is? There's a time for judgment. There's a time, it's the Most High's time he's on, is going to sit back and put all things in order.
Yep.
So why am I sitting back here fueling all this anger and emotion? You're better off keeping your distance, keeping your head down, and working on your conduct, because that's all you can control.
And that's the only profitable exercise of time you can give yourself. Hating and being and harping and building. What's going to happen is you're going to see other people with the same personalities and the same issues come around you brand new, and it's going to start making you become skeptical of new people.
And like I said,
Over time,
if you don't, and that's why I was saying earlier, if you feed that negative outlook, it will bleed out on other people.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to tell yourself, oh, I only have an issue with this person and that person. If you have issues, now I'm going to say this, and when we go over to class on Monday, I'm going to clarify this. We always have to have the willingness to forgive. But forgiveness is one thing. Dealing in judgment and speaking the truth and not relenting on the truth is another. And we have to have the capacity to stand up for what's right, to stand up to deal with judgment, while having the willingness at the same time to forgive and have mercy. Because forgiving and have mercy doesn't mean you're supposed to forget the offenses. You don't forget it. You don't. Listen, we still have obligations to call people out on their negative. But can you call people out on their negative and still forgive them? Because that's what proper balance is spiritually. Because people like to think that forgiveness means I'm just going to forget what you did and act like it didn't happen. That's not proper forgiveness. Do you have the ability to tell it like it is, to sit back here and stand on your principles while forgiving the person who didn't stand on their principles at the same time? That's the mindset that you have to eventually work on having. Because it's not about just forgetting. And we'll go into that in more specifics on Monday. Because people like to just think, just forgive and move on. No, that's not the Bible either. The Bible ain't just forgive and forget and move on. I'm supposed to forgive and still hold you accountable. Can you do both? Can I forgive and keep you accountable for your decisions? And when you sit back here and acknowledge your decisions and acknowledge your conduct, I'm already prepared to let it go. I'm already prepared to forgive. I'm already forgiven. But forgiveness and accountability are two different things.
That's a parent. A parent to a child would do that.
That's how you have to operate when you detach emotions from things. This is what we're all supposed to be. We have to get past our feelings. And can we deal with right and wrong while forgiving at the same time?
And it says foolishness is bound in the heart of a child.
God.
So you don't hate your kids because they make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? That's why I can't stand you sorry ass kids.
Always eating chips. Always sneaking snacks.
That was my favorite couch.
Yeah.
Always drinking the apple juice when I told you not to.
Yeah.
Right. You gonna forever hold that on the way?
Still break juice on my carpet.
Listen, but that's how we do with children and our brothers.
That's true.
Yeah.
But once again, I'm gonna say it one more time. We'll go over it in more depth on Monday. Listen, I have to forgive. You know, people say I forgive, but I ain't gonna forget. Oh, okay. So that what that means is I'm gonna fake forgive, but I'm gonna hold that grudge. That's not the case either.
Right.
You can't, quote unquote, pseudo forgive and hold a grudge. But you can't sit back here. You cannot also forgive and act like the negative offenses didn't happen either, right? Because that's childlike in mentality.
It's cartoon world.
That's cartoon world. I'm going to forgive you and smile and act like nothing happened and forget. That's not realistic also. Can we sit back here, forgive? Because that's what the responsibility of the person that was offended has to do. But then can I sit back and forgive, but still keep a person to hold on to their task and to keep them to task about their decisions and their actions? It's both.
That's a more mature approach.
That's the only way it can work. Because the thing is that sometimes people will offend and you'll never see them again. That's a real thing. But sometimes people offend and they come back around. If they offend and come back around, they still got to be held accountable for their decisions. That doesn't change. That's that cartoon world where a person can make a mistake and come back and act like nothing happens.
Right.
That's not real. And that's where it talks about restitution. You have to make right what you did before we continue forward. That has nothing to do with forgiveness. Get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yes, we have to forgive, but restitution has to be paid. You got to make it right. So can you make it right while I have already forgiven you too? Why can't it be both ways? That's how it should be. And we can't be childlike in mentality like, okay, I'm the one who's supposed to forgive, so I'm supposed to turn a blind eye to your character and your conduct.
So the offender has responsibility, and the offended.
And that's what we're going to go into on Monday. Both parties have a responsibility. I'm not. Yes, sir.
No, you go ahead and finish your statement.
We're not supposed to sit back here and walk around with these emotions. Yeah, you gotta get out of here. With these emotions, and I listen. If I was offended, I can't hold the hostility, waiting for somebody to come and make it right, because that will never happen. I'm never going to get the apology I might want, so I can't operate in that space. So I have to work on forgiving before a person comes back around. We've said that for years.
Mm-hmm.
That has to happen, but a person that's coming back, where's the contrition there? And that they still have to make things right in the eyes of the Heavenly Father.
Right.
While I'm having to work on, or we're having to work on forgiveness, they got to sit back and make it right too.
Right.
That's why in the spirit, that's how things can get right on both parties. What was you going to say?
No, I was just going to see where you're going to read, and I like the verse you pulled in Ecclesiastes 3:17. But when you read verse 18, it says, and I said in my heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that the Most High might manifest to them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts.
Yep.
And I like this scripture because our natural inclination is to react on our emotions.
Yeah.
So we let our emotions lead us.
Mm-hmm.
But the check and balance system for our emotions is the scriptures.
Yep.
All the scriptures you went over about turning the other cheek,
Yeah.
about forgiveness. And what's so beautiful about the way the Most High works is it tells us in Hebrews that the scriptures are double-edged swords.
And that's the point.
So they cut both ways. So like you're saying, like the offender, he's got to repent, he's got to change, and then the offendee, they got to change and they got to repent also.
And that offendee can't wait until the offender comes back and makes it right. Listen, you know why? Listen, I have to still give freely to the people around me until that person comes around. So I'm going to have negative and leaven in me for 5-7 years? That don't make no damn sense either.
Right.
And the process is not that cartoonish fairy tale story that we see on TV where you go to the person, I'm sorry, I forgive you.
It's squash style.
It don't work like that. In the real world, y'all gotta cuss each other out. Y'all gotta let it be heard how you really feel, and that way y'all can make amends and y'all can go on. And it's not saying that y'all gonna agree either.
I know that. Well, that's why I said a lot of times. I don't know if you hear when we said this. A lot of times relationships might not ever be the same.
Con.
But that doesn't mean The resentment's got to be there.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean the anger's got to be there. That doesn't mean that there's got to be hatred there.
Prime example, Paul and Barnabas.
God.
They got into it over their brother.
Because Paul was like, he's a fake ass dude and I can't rely on.
He abandoned us.
He abandoned us. Why I'm gonna go with him? And Barnabas was like, I want to give him another chance. Well, you know what? And it was heated. Listen, bro, I'm gonna dap you. Then you got to go that way. I'm gonna go this way, and it's okay. And that's exactly the point we're driving.
Abraham and Lot.
Hey, yeah. Yeah, and it was over there. Their servants, their shepherd and herdsmen arguing over territory and land. Your cows drink all the water.
Yeah,
they ate all the grass.
You got greedy sheep.
Come on, exactly. The greedy sheep. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But what's the point? The point is, because the scriptures are a two-edged sword, can both parties take the check and the cut, and can both parties work on themselves and make things right, and make us our number one responsibility is to the Most High, and our spirit has to be prepared and right so I can keep giving to the next person.
Yeah.
If you don't deal with these offenses, it will root and destroy you from the inside out, and you just keep retreating into your own little negative world and be unproductive for everyone.
You got to read verse 16 too.
Let's do it.
That whole thing on this Ecclesiastes off the chain.
That whole thing, man.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Read verse 16. Nagaha, let's get in here, man. Shit, bro. Take a seat, buddy. It's just him. It's just him. We're saluting him, man. You can take a seat.
He ready, you ready to read.
I know this is like the second time. I'm like, we got you, brother. He's learning.
Nagaha, Shah, Shabbatai, Ban, Shemai Wan, Ban, Yasha Allah.
Nagaha, Shah Shabbatah, Ban Shemai Wan, Ban Yashal, Amaj, Rok, Yahweh Hashem Yahshua B'Kitab.
Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Brakatam.
It's okay. Listen, every brother reads, and we individually salute each other. Now, at the end of class, we'll do the group salute. Okay? And it's the right hand. Where's your right hand? The other right. That's the right. That's it, sir. All right. So, read that, sir. Verse 16, Ecclesiastes in the Bible, 3 and 16.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment.
And what he's attacking in this verse is showing that men don't know how to look at each other the right way, and men don't know how to treat each other the right way. And that's why it says he looks under the sun. He's talking about on earth, and he says, I saw under the sun the place of judgment. We don't know how to treat each other because the way we look at each other is off. And that's why he alluded eventually to us as beasts. Read on.
That wickedness was there.
So when it comes to judgment, when it comes to treating people a certain way, he said, what is involved in judgment? Wickedness. People distort judgment.
Yep.
And they distort the way that they're supposed to look at a situation. Wickedness is involved and intermingled with judgment. Read on.
And the place of righteousness.
And he said he also looks at righteousness. What's the right way and a wrong way to deal with a person or to deal with a situation? Go ahead.
That iniquity was there.
And just like in judgment, wickedness is an intermingled with judgment. Also in righteousness, iniquity or sin is intermingled with righteousness. So he's showing you that the judgment and the righteousness is polluted. It's contaminated. And why is it contaminated? When you read on down, he shows in verse 17 and 18 why that judgment and why that righteousness is contaminated. He says because the people that are involved, that are supposed to be looking at the situation correctly, are beasts themselves. So you can't be a beast in your mentality and still execute righteousness and judgment correctly while you're a beast. You can't do it. It can't be done. Because your sin is involved and your iniquity is involved. and your wickedness is involved in judgment and righteousness. So if the people don't ever grow out of it, they'll never be able to treat each other correctly. And that's what the Most High said in Hosea 4:1, and I'll read that real quick. Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of the Most High in the land. Saying the same thing. It's what the people are missing. That's why judgment and that's why righteousness can't exist under the sun. Because look at what the people are missing. There's no truth of how they're supposed to look at a situation. There's no righteousness. There's no mercy. And they don't have the right knowledge pertaining to offenses. And that's the problem that the Most High has with Israel.
Because people just can't get past how they're affected.
Right.
They don't see how they affect people. You know, the crazy thing is our people are keen on how people affect them, but they're dull in regards to how toxic their behavior has an effect on other people. We're dull on that. We're not sensitive to how toxic we can be to people around us. We don't want to focus on that. We want to focus on how toxic people are to us, and that's where that lack of judgment is, because there's no real clarity. Because you know the truth is, because most people, we're liars. We're liars. We're liars in how we look at ourselves. We're liars in how we evaluate ourselves. Mm-hmm. We'll make so many excuses for ourselves, but we'll sit back here and strain a gnat at somebody else. Yep. I'll dissect this person to the lowest common denominator, but I don't dissect myself that same way. That's how judgment is skewed. Yep. That's how you're not able to sit back. It's completely one-sided. And that's where these controversies come from. That's what this is the manifestation of how men are beasts. They're beasts because I don't want to look at you and how I dealt with you and how I affected you. I want to focus on how you affected me, and I stay in this emotional. You can't look at things rational until you detach the emotion. You can't detach the emotion until you detach the self out of it. And that's the thing. Anyway. You have more on that?
No, that was it.
Okay, so listen, I think we veered, but I think it was a good veer. So let's get back into the topic.
Read verse 23.
Okay, let's get verse 23. So at this particular point, this is David writing almost like the eulogy concerning Jonathan and Saul, and how they went down, and how valiant Jonathan was, and how honorable Saul was in death.
In the church, they call it a dirge. A dirge. Okay. And you get the definition of dirge in 1828. It says a dirge, a word used in the funeral service, a song or tune intended to express grief, sorrow, and mourning as a funeral dirge. So it's a song that's sung particularly at a funeral to express grief, and that's what David wrote right here. He wrote this song expressing how his feelings, how he was affected by the death of Saul and Jonathan.
If you can you read the bottom part of Josephus' book 7, chapter 1? Is the last part of the paragraph. Paragraph 1. It explains this. It explains this, the same thing chapter 1 is saying. Okay. He doesn't say dirt, but it's the same damn thing. He also committed, is what I want to read out.
Okay. He also committed to writing some lamentations and funeral commendations of Saul and Jonathan, which have continued to my own age.
He said, so that information continued all the way to Josephus' time. It was maintained. The funeral rites, the funeral lamentations and commendations, and the compliments written about Saul and Saul and Jonathan that David wrote. And that's what he's talking about right here in Samuel, chapter 2. Chapter 1, verse 23. Slaki. That's all I wanted from Josephus. Now we're back in the Bible. 1 Samuel 1 and 23.
2 Samuel chapter 1, verse 23. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they were not divided.
And I remember why I even brought this back. It was because David had gotten past the hurt. He had gotten past the letdowns and the attacks that Saul had on him. And you couldn't make these type of writings and comments if it was fake or feigned and half-hearted. He genuinely had love, one, and he genuinely was able to forgive Saul for what he had done to him, to be in a position to write like he's writing.
And it's noted that David was a man after the Most High's heart. So we should all have the ability to not hold offenses, too personal.
Exactly. So let's keep going.
Okay.
Because listen, he was still on the run when this happened. So there was really no closure to the whole saga between him and Saul. But he still was able to accept how things went down, regardless of the official, without getting the official transfer of the reins, so to speak.
Right.
Because that's how it would have been. That's how it should have been. Quote air quotes. There should have been an official coronation and the changing of the reins, and it should have been an official Salakia. I'ma back down and give it to you. It's your time. But that isn't how the Most High had it, because he wasn't going to give it up. But even with that, David had the patience and mercy to accept how things went down, and to accept the verdict the Most High did, and to accept that lack of closure, so to speak. All David got was, Salakia, you're a better man than me.
Yeah.
Salakia, I'm going to stop messing with you.
Don't cut off my family.
Don't kill my family. Don't kill my kids. And that was it. But keep going.
They were swifter than eagles. They were stronger than lions. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel.
He says, mourn for Saul because he looked after all of y'all. Read on.
How are the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high places. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women.
Listen, and that verse had nothing to do with LBGTQ and all that crap. Exactly. This just meant that brotherhood and the love he had for his brother surpassed the affection that a man would have for a woman. That's the type of brotherhood you want for anybody. For that bond and that connection to surpass that love of woman. It was just the strong bonds that they had as brothers is what he was explaining.
It was past the expression of physicality.
It was never physical. Exactly. To make sure. It wasn't no brokeback stuff out. It wasn't no country. Yeah. We out in the woods out here. Right. I don't know why I can't quit you. I can't talk that country twang. Well, I don't know, because he was crying like, I don't know why I can't quit you. And it just gives you got that sugar in your tank, man. That's why. Stop. Let's keep reading verse 3. We had nothing to do with that. It was about brotherly love.
Right. Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't burning lust.
It wasn't that burning lust. Read on. Let's get verse 27.
Verse 27. How are the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished?
Con.
I applaud you for watching that movie, because I can't watch
listen, I'm going to say this. No, listen, don't put that on me. You know what I'm saying? Have you not in your life flick channels? And all of a sudden the scene's on there, right? Yeah. That's where I felt victim to. Like,
you got caught up out.
Listen, you know what's crazy? I was changing channels. Listen, hold on. I was flicking channels, and there was these two dudes just herding sheep in the woods. I was like, okay, they're herding sheep. What's going on here? And then all of a sudden they're in a tent. I'm like, oh no! Who would have thought it was going to go any further than that? Who would have thought that was going to happen? Because I was like, let me see, scene 1, what's happening in the scene? It wasn't like that. You flipping channels and you see some, like, what the hell is going on here? I'm just explaining that's what happened. Real to real, I want to see what's going on with this situation. It wasn't that. Come on, man. You gonna put that evil on me, though? Come on, that's hilarious.
I said to myself, man, I can't watch that, man.
I listen,
Yeah.
and I didn't. I know you are. I know you.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, I got caught in the middle of the movie. I'm flipping channels, and I synced it, and I couldn't do nothing about it. It was in my head at that point.
I know.
It was over.
That movie blew up Heath Ledger, right? That was Heath Ledger, right?
Yeah, it was Heath Ledger.
I know that movie blew his career up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then he got the Batman on the
Batman.
Sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
No doubt.
He had to play that part to get up in Hollywood, to move up in the ranks.
You know, the scene was when he said, I don't know why I can't stop quitting you. That was the scene. Like, man, it was really in this dude's spirit. It wasn't even a tense scene. I flipped past that, but it was how he was conflicted. Because he was married.
Oh.
He was married, and he's like, man, I can't stop. I can't stop dealing with this. I can't stop caring for this cat. That was the crazy part. He was in this just jacked up betwixt situation.
Man.
Anyway,
A lot of them cats can relate to that.
now there's a lot of ranches.
Yeah, the ranches, but not
There's
just
a
them.
reason they call them cowboys.
Them download brothers too, man.
Hey, it happens to all of us. You
That's
get caught
what I'm
up.
saying. You flipping the channel and you get caught
I
up.
was
Huh?
slipping, bro. And I was like, man, ain't that Casey on the cover? I was like, oh, she not Casey on the cover.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Oh, you mean that Euphoria stuff?
Yeah, I
I've
was
never
like,
seen that.
yo.
I didn't get caught in that one yet. Yeah,
I'm not even
exactly.
sure about that one, bro.
I heard that shit was off,
Bro,
man.
I was like, woo, no, she ain't Casey
it's like
on the
that?
cover in this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, this
that's
HBO
wild,
was turning up on this world, bro.
They turned her out in that, bro.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That is a good show, I'm just saying.
in your opinion.
There's a lot of stuff you got to gloss over to even listen to, watch the thing. But
You caught slipping, man.
listen, man. So where we at in the Bible, y'all? We're trying to read this Bible, y'all.
2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 1.
Okay.
And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Most High, saying, shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah?
So it always goes. David always, before he makes a move, gets clearance, gets clarity and authorization. So he talks to the priest. The priest prays to the Most High and gets answers from the Urim and the Thummim. Okay, read on.
And the Most High said unto him, go up. And David said, whither shall I go up? And he said, unto Hebron.
So he went to Hebron because that was the place where Samuel anointed him to be king in the first place. Read on.
So David went up thither, and his two wives also, Ahinoam and Jezreeless, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite.
So he brought his ribs and his family up there to Hebron. Don't forget, he was making smart political moves leading up to this. Remember before when he was sitting back here wiping out all the South's enemies? In 1 Samuel, at the end of it, he was sitting back here and wiping out the Amalekites and all the neighboring countries that were giving the Judah problems. He was doing that while he was waiting in Ziklag. He also sat back here when the Amalekites raided Ziklag. They also was raiding southern kingdom locations. So once he sat back here and took out the Amalekites, he gave them back what was lost, on top of keeping his stuff. So
But the men wanted to keep all of the spoils.
Yes, exactly. And David checked him and said, listen, bro, even the guys who was waiting for the stuff,
Right.
they get their stuff, and we're going to send back the stuff to the people in Judah who got robbed in the first place. So all these moves were leading up to getting looked after and protected and taken care of with Judah. And what it shows you is you don't know how things work out. You just got to live honorably every step that you possibly can in your life. And who knows how that honor and that respect that you get. You would think that the transition from David becoming the king would be just simply a transition.
Okay.
But it was still a uphill climb for him to even get to the position where he was supposed to be. He had to sit back and methodically just take one tribe and then work his way up. Okay? So let's continue.
Okay. 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 3. And as men that were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron.
Mm-hmm.
And the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah.
So it says his 600 men and their families went to Hebron too. And the men of Judah, and they anointed David king over the house of Judah. Read on.
And they told David, saying that the men of Jabesh Gilead were they that buried Saul.
So listen, the men of Jabesh Gilead were up north, specifically northeast, because Gilead was on the east side of Jordan. So obviously these men held some type of position of honor and prestige amongst the northern kingdom. So what David was initially trying to do at this point was establishing some type of ambassador of peace. Because you got to understand, Judah and the rest of the tribes were at odds with each other. There hadn't been a smooth unity of the tribes even during the time of Saul. There was beef with Judah. It was like you had Judah, one tribe, and all the other 11 were aligned with Saul. That was how fragmented the kingdom was. And at that time, Benjamin was aligned with the north, because Saul was aligned with the north.
Right.
So now, even at this time, the only tribe that's backing David is Judah. So now, what he's trying to do is show respect to the men who honored Saul's body, and hopefully establish the mentality that, hey, there's peace here. We're brothers here. Let's read it.
Verse 5. And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, and said unto them, Blessed be ye of the Most High, that ye have showed this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. And now the Lord show kindness and truth unto you, and I also will requite you this kindness, because ye have done this thing.
So this does multiple things. It shows respect to these men in the northern kingdom that did an honorable thing, and it was also hopes that there'd be some type of peace between the north and the south. He's trying to show and he was trying to deal with diplomatically with these men in hopes that there'd be some unity between the north and the south.
Yeah.
Read on.
He showed that they were aligned, and
Exactly.
they shared the same sentiment with. You would think that David would rejoice over the death of Saul, but he didn't. But he was just letting those men know also, I sorrowed also, just like you sorrowed, and we share the same sentiment upon Saul's death. Meaning, I'm not happy about this either. And that I'm with you in the suffering. I'm with you in the pain.
So we have a shared sentiment.
We have a shared sentiment.
And hopefully we can build on this kindness amongst each other. Read on.
Verse 7. Therefore, now let your hands be strengthened, and be ye valiant, for your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them.
So you see how he's letting them know that Judah anointed me king? So now we can sit back here and establish some type of relationship and keep working on our issues. Read on.
Verse 8. But Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host.
Now don't forget, Abner was the cousin or the uncle. No, it was the uncle of Saul. This guy was a war vet. He was the captain of Saul's host. Read on. Captain
of Saul's host took Ishbosheth.
Now you see how this is almost like a move to counter what David was doing to establish this unity with the northern tribe. And that's why it's written this way. Because David's trying to sit back and get some kind of a foothold in the north to unite the north and the south. And Abner's like, nah, I'm taking this. I'm going to sit back here and deal with the last surviving son of Saul to reestablish this guy to be the head. Now what you're going to read, what's crazy when you read this guy Ishbosheth's name. Ishbosheth, the name, okay, now it cut off. Give me a second now. Check this out. Ishbosheth means man of shame.
Wow.
So first of all, when you read these names and these titles, they don't make no sense. Why would Saul say, man, congratulations, what is it? Is it a boy or girl? It's a boy. I'm going to call him man of shame. It's no different when you sit back here, and I'm not going to take the class too far away, when you read the book of Ruth, and you look at the names of the husbands that died. I'm gonna go here real quick. It's crazy because the sons, their name was Mahlon and Chilion, right? And that's verse 2. Mahlon meant sick ass dude. So I'm gonna call my son sick. And then the other name, Chilion, meant, God, it was another bad derogative word, man. Chilion, come on, man.
That means he had some type of sickness, because we would name people according to, their characteristics or traits.
Characteristics, but listen, yes, but part of me is like
Pining.
Yeah, pining, withering away, because it was a really jacked up name. Like, I'm gonna name my son Withering Away, or was these names used to represent what they were down the line? I don't know. I'm not trying to get all deep, but those names don't make no sense to be naming no kid pining away, sickly. That boy's sick. Or
unless I had the child while I was sick, while I was pining away.
Maybe. Or pining away, withering away, that's his name. Or man of shame. Ishbosheth, this little, you know what, man of shame. I'm ashamed of this little boy. He ain't done nothing yet. What the little boy do to be called man of shame?
Was he a nation baby?
I don't know.
No.
All I know is it almost looks like, based off how he was named.
Saul was tied in with the Amalekites.
He was. But you know what's crazy? It looks like Abner took this guy as a political move to get leverage over the north. And based off his name, you can tell it's probably a pushover. And Abner ran the kingdom proxy through Ishbosheth.
Yep.
It can be assumed that, because Abner was the guy running the whole show, and Ishbosheth, you're gonna read, he didn't do a whole lot of nothing during his time in power. Let's read that from the top.
2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 8. But Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took the man of shame, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim.
Because think about this. Why didn't Ishbosheth take the initiative? Why did he say, man, I'm the king, my father was the king, it's my turn now? Why didn't he do it? Why did Abner take him? There's something wrong with that exchange. That Abner had to sit back here, you gonna be the boy? And he wasn't a young boy, he was 40 years old.
Yeah.
He was 40. My thing is, if you're 40, why weren't you fighting? Why weren't you on the battlefield with your other brothers that died on the field? What's wrong with you? That doesn't make sense either. He was never fighting. Why were all the other guys fighting? Maybe that's why he was called the man of shame. Because you had too much of that weak sauce in you to go out here and fight these damn crazy six-fingered giants that was throwing javelins and fast and I just think about those in Black Panther, those dudes that was in the mountains. One of those guys, them dudes was crazy. Point is, there's something to this. That's my whole point. Ishbosheth didn't take the initiative, but Abner snatched him and said, "This is the king." Because Abner knew he could sit back here and have control over the decisions by putting him up. This is the next man in power.
But in Ecclesiastes chapter 10, it says, Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 2.
Want to read it?
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 2. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers.
Read on.
And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein.
And if you look at the difference, before David even went up to Hebron, he inquired of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
He asked the Most High,
Yep.
do you think it proper and appropriate for me to go to Hebron? And then he waited for the answer of the Most High, and the Most High told him, go up. But just like Saul didn't frequent inquiring of the Most High, it made sense that Abner wouldn't either.
Huh?
Abner just went and made a decision without no inquiring of the Most High, no prayers, let me get a priest in here, and let me ask the priest to pray and ask the Most High to get a word from the Lord. Just like Saul was, so was his men.
Yeah.
They made fleshly, carnal decisions based off opinion, and they had no desire to have a consciousness of the Most High.
They were blood. Don't forget, Abner and Saul were blood.
God.
So listen, he was trying to keep it all in the family, to keep that power and control. He's like, man, this guy's a puppet, this guy's weak, but I can sit back and get this done. I can sit back and run this thing.
Yep.
As soon as David started sitting back here, sending letters up north, I got to cut this off, and I got to push Ishbosheth up here to be the king to neutralize his play. These are all political war games going on.
But he didn't pursue the Most High to be involved in that decision.
One person did it spiritually, and one person did it carnally.
Yep.
So this is where I keep saying that climb. David still had to fight all these different avenues and these people trying to get in the way of what was rightfully his. You're going to always get that carnal element that tries to neutralize the spiritual path the Most High has in line for you.
But good is evil's present.
There's always this power struggle. So Abner does it the carnal way. David was doing things the right way. Right? Read on.
2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 9. And made him king over Gilead.
Gilead was in the east of Jordan. Why did they say he was king over there? Because he was neutralizing those cats in Jabesh Gilead to force allegiance to Ishbosheth and not David, because he knew those mighty men. Listen, those guys from Jabesh Gilead were potent enough to go into the land of the Philistines and all these places where they had all those dead bodies and fought them out.
And took
these guys were some damn dogs. I can't lose these guys from our army. We lose these guys, we're in trouble. So this had to happen. So he's gonna be king over Gilead to neutralize and to keep these Manassites, which they were, on their side.
East.
Yes, it was east of Jordan. That's where Gilead was. Gilead was where the half of Manasseh, Gad, and Reuben were. Read on.
Okay. And made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites,
Okay.
and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel.
So once again, listen, at that time, Israel was from Benjamin up. It was Benjamin. It those t-shirts versus this person versus everybody. It was Judah versus everybody.
Right.
It was Judah versus the 11. And Abner was trying to keep it that way. Read on.
Verse 10. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old.
And answer your question, says there wasn't any real unity. It's been herky-jerky since the beginning of time.
Exactly.
It's been herky-jerky from the beginning. It's always been fighting and posturing and positioning for a position of power. And there was very rarely a time where there was a clear leader that everybody accepted. Because everybody had their personal agendas at the forefront. And personal agendas superseded order. That's all it's showing you is Israel just didn't want to be in order even in the time of David. David was the true and ordered king, and you still had factions of people that had their own agenda aligned that was opposite of David's agenda.
So even with our own land, our resources,
It was still that disconnect.
Come on, we've been beefing since before Egypt, because remember Joseph and his brothers.
Huh?
What was they doing? Beefing.
Yep. Because one was chosen over the other.
Come on.
It was no deeper than that.
Even the disciples were beefing amongst each other.
Come on.
Saying which one of us going to be the greatest.
And this is why the notion that there's going to be this kumbaya of Israel coming together before Christ comes back.
The utopia.
That's like damn the Peanuts cartoon show. You might as well play that shit and say it's about unity. Where's Linus's blanket at? Listen, when I sit back here and go into that little land, that's when there'll be unity in Israel. Get out of here, right? Christ is going to come back and put this in order.
That's the glory Christ gets. That's the glory of Christ. But people are like,
Most I said all the different sheep are going to be put in their own folds until Christ comes back. What you gonna say?
That's the whole point of Christ coming back is to get the glory of unifying Israel. That's the whole point of the Bible.
You're gonna have all these different sects because you know what? A man's going to cleave according to his what?
Like.
His own like. Whatever group suits him best is who he's going to align himself to. These are the facts.
And
This is what it is. It's not going to change. And the idea that we can sit back here and muddle all these people together in this goulash or gumbo or jambalaya of Israelites with all these different agendas is a fantasy.
It's not real.
It's not. It's cartoon. That's why I said
It's over idealistic thinking. It's over idealistic thinking, and it's the and my idea, because I read the Bible and I thought this is how it should be.
You might as well say red, yellow, black, and white. You're all present inside. You might as well say that.
Sing Tupac lyrics. This is how the world should be. This is how the world could be. It's not going to be that way. Tupac said that about changes.
Even when Christ come back, it tells us in Ezekiel that he's going to purge out the rebels.
That's the point.
That's
when he get back.
Exactly.
When he's back, he's going to purge out the rebels.
And you know what does rebels mean? I got a different agenda.
That's it.
I have a different agenda. It ain't gonna be about the law. It's gonna be about I have a different agenda.
Exactly.
I want this to happen. I don't want this to happen. I don't agree with this person being over me.
Moses was a great guy. One of the greatest guys ever. One of the greatest. He saved us. He completely took us out of Egypt. And they saw miracles. And there was still agendas.
And they were holding rocks like, I can't wait to get him. I can't wait to get this dude.
So if that happened to Moses.
Say one more thing, Mo. Say one more thing. Ooh, I got a rock. I picked this one out with show name on it, Moses. Lawyer going down tonight.
That's just real life.
This is the truth, Doc.
So the idea of this corner, this utopia Jew land act, it's not going to happen.
A utopian Jew land act. That is so awesome.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Because everybody has their own agenda. It's that simple.
When we're back in our homeland and Christ is there, and the angels there.
And listen, we were in our homeland. We were in the kingdom. Right. We were in the kingdom. We were in our kingdom. The unity. There wasn't no damn unity.
The unity.
Textiles.
Yeah, textiles and agriculture and their own society, a free-flowing society. And it was a power struggle. North versus South. And Abner sat back here and chose the man of shame to ride with him. And he sat back, but see, Abner had control of the army. So who ruled? Who truly ran the north?
Who was the boss?
Listen, Ishbosheth wasn't going to sit back here and ride out against these Philistines.
Was that going to do that?
What was he going to do? He didn't do it before.
Yeah, he wasn't fit for that.
He didn't go to Gilboa and fight with his brothers and his daddy. So Abner's like, you're going to be the kingdom. Everything's going to be all right, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
All right. You be the king, I'll run the kingdom. You be the king, I'll run the kingdom. That's what it was, huh? So he's the DJ and the rapper, right?
Was he like a proxy leader?
That's exactly what he was. He was a proxy leader.
You know they can't change his name, right?
Huh?
He changed his name.
Who, Ishbosheth?
Isbhpk.
Yeah.
It says, man of shame, the fourth son of Saul, 2 Samuel 2:8, originally called Ishbaal.
Yeah.
Man of Baal.
Yeah.
It's even worse.
Yes. Yes.
I can't get right, huh?
He ain't clever.
He was, but it also shows you. It also shows you.
It's terrible.
Hold on. It also shows you where. But it also shows you where that disconnect came from the south and the north, because the north was aligned based off their dabbling on the left-hand side. These guys weren't on the up and up all the way. I'm not knocking nobody from the northern tribe, because I'm one of the corn-eating tribes too, so I can't talk too much. What I'm saying is this: there was a reason the north was playing both sides of the fence with the worship of the Most High and the serving of the gods. And that was another reason that there was political connections, and they weren't going to sit back and they were going to turn a blind eye to the north and how they operated with their belief of serving gods. I'll never forget reading the book of Judges, the end, and how these guys were making their own gods, and they made an image of the Heavenly Father.
Dude, twisted out.
And they were making their own temples and their own places of worship. That was the north, bro. They were always tripping like that. It was the truth. And listen, point is this. What are we saying? This is part of where the politics was kicking in.
You said they had that. You mentioned that they had the herbalarias.
They had the herbal.
Herbalarias.
It was an herbal area. It's herbal area. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He says, listen, where does Saul go to find out if he can go up in Ramoth Gilead?
Botanica.
It was a botanica. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was a botanica. It was somewhere up north where the lady says, I know this is a botanica, but
the witch of Endor.
yeah, he's like, you know what? I'm not supposed to do this, right? Let me stop. I'm not supposed to do this, right? This is crazy way. Well, what am I saying? The 9.5 tribes was doing that dirt, and you know what? It was winked at.
Get a cleansing that.
It was winked at because if I can get all of these tribes on my side, now I have power.
And it happened again when David passed the throne to Solomon.
Yep.
When Solomon's apprentice fell, they had a split kingdom. It went back
It was his son. It was Rehoboam.
Yeah, it was Rehoboam and Jeroboam.
Yeah, but they were already raring to do it.
And the alignment was with those gods again.
But this time Benjamin fell back south.
Yeah.
But initially they were placating the north,
Yep.
and it was a give and take. Because even during the time of idolatry, it wasn't like idolatry was just all I do is worship Baal and Astarte. The worshiping of gods, it was I'm going to embrace any god I want. I will serve the Most High. I will go to these feasts, and I'm gonna tap into this Astarte
I'm gonna
too.
pick and choose what I want to do.
I'm gonna tap into. I'm gonna pick and choose, and that's where the
I'm gonna serve
affiliations
Most High,
kick in.
and I pick and choose
So
Most High.
Saul and Ishbosheth, can you let me do what I want to do?
Yeah.
And I'll do my little law thing, but can I do this other stuff too? If you let me do this, this is fine.
Well, a little freedom.
Because even with the priests,
Yeah.
the priests that were the priests of the northern kingdom, they weren't the priests the Most High said he wanted to be priest. The whole thing was misaligned and out of whack.
Yeah. I just want to read this real quick on your point that you just brought up. 2 Kings, chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. It says, Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab, and Ahaziah fell down through a lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria, and was sick. And we know Samaria is the capital city of the northern kingdom of Israel. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease.
So they're sitting back here, they're playing on both sides of the fence,
Right.
huh? They're sitting back and inquiring gods. They don't sit back and talk to them, try to pray to the Most High. It was a mosh posh of beliefs.
That's why Saul didn't have a problem doing that.
But and that's the point. He didn't have a problem with politicking. I'm going to talk to Most High. I'm going to do the Most High thing. I'm just going to turn a blind eye to the things you do. I just need you when it's coming for war. When it's time to posse up and rally up, I need you.
Right.
And you know what? Whatever you do on your time, you do. You give me what I want, I'll give you what you want. I'll give you freedom. Come to me. Because the only thing he stood up for is what? Remember he sat back here when he first was in his power. He chopped up that animal and sent it to all the different parts of the city. So you know what? If y'all don't come fight for me, I'm killing all y'all animals. I'm killing all y'all cattle. And then everybody was like this, come on, we're here. We're here to go to war because we don't want you to kill our animals. That was it. I need you to fight against these Philistines. Nothing more, nothing less. You want to do what you want to do, I'll give you your freedom. That's politicking 101. The ones who didn't
if you get us in office, then we will make sure that you can go.
Yeah,
that's new.
Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy.
That's that jerk.
That's horrible. He keeps blowing it up. That's horrible.
They're hitting all the other pages out. They're hitting all the pages.
All of them like this? I've never seen this.
A lot of them do. But this is the thing.
Great. Yeah, keep talking.
So the whole point is that's the constant politics. If you put me in office, this sector of people are going to get rewarded. I'm going to go ahead and sector you, and we're going to push trans laws here. We'll go ahead and sit here and we're going to stop fracking and stop getting this oil and stop doing this. That's we're going to take care of the environment this way, which still benefits people financially. So it's all about picking sectors of society and making political ties and financial ties with them, and then trying to get a stronger message to win.
Yeah.
That's what politics really is. It's two parties, but everybody has people in their back pockets. Now, I got to take care of my constituents.
Yeah.
So in Israel, it shouldn't be that way. My supporters.
My financial backers.
I have some Baal backers. I have some Beelzebub backers. I have some Astarte backers. Listen, we're all Israelites. We're all Hebrews. We all came from Moses. We all left Egypt. We love the Lord.
But just in case.
Just in case. This is why I really believe it.
I got people that I fall back on.
Exactly.
Fall back guys.
And that's what he said. But the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah the Tishbite, Arise and go up to meet the messenger of the king of Samaria, and say unto him, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel, that ye go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? That angers the Most High when we try to use these backdoor outside approaches to get answers to our problems. But that Israel is known as being, even the kings of Israel are guilty of pursuing answers from other deities and other gods. And the Most High said, you know what? Well, because you act like I don't exist, then I got some bad news for you. You're not going to heal from that disease, and you're going to die in your bed from that disease, since you act like I don't exist. And that situation pisses the Most High off when we try to intertwine both these superstitious deities and we know that there's a God in heaven. But we choose not to give the Most High his props and our allegiance, but we choose to give these other deities an honor when crap hits the fan, or we feel like we're in trouble. Then we got to have somebody to fall back on, and that angers the Most High. And this is that belief system that existed during this time frame.
No doubt.
That duality.
God, and this was part of why the north was aligned with the north, and they were in line with Saul's group. They were comfortable with him. Okay, so let's keep going. Now we're in 2 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 10. Let's go 10 again.
2 Samuel chapter 2 verse 10. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel.
This is what's crazy. 40 years old. So he was obviously war age, and he didn't fight. There was issues with this man's character. Read on.
When he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David.
Okay, so he reigned 2 years. And we're going to read how long David ruled in Hebron. Read that.
Verse 11. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months.
So the question would be, why in the hell, how was David ruling for 7 years and 6 months, and Ishbosheth was only ruling for 2 years? More than likely, it took 5.5 years for Ishbosheth to reestablish the control over the northern kingdom. Why else would they be in line for 2? Because if Ishbosheth fell, David would have took over anyway.
Right.
So those years have to have aligned somehow, which means upon Saul's death, there had to be 5+ years of disunity and just separatism and individualism, like we know Israel to be. And then in the last two years, Ishbosheth was able to sit back and reign in the rest of the people. So still, David had to wait 7.5 more years after Saul died to get to the kingdom.
I actually think he deserves something.
It's even long. He was already on the run. Don't forget, in the Josephus it tells you that Saul reigned for 20 years. So who's to say how long he was running? It could have been 15 years he was on the run.
Out of that 20.
So then you get that. Then you got 7.5 years. You shouldn't get the whole kingdom.
You got a piece of the kingdom.
You got one city.
Yeah.
You got one the south. One tribe.
And this plays on your mind that is the Most High fair.
Because that's the thing. Because he's letting the wicked flourish. The wicked are doing wickedness. The wicked are smiling. They're smiling. They're smiling like crazy. And you're sitting back here. You were told you were going to be the king of Israel for the longest, and you're still on that grind.
Now you can understand why he wrote the 73rd Psalms.
Con. That had to have been in a cave. That was written in a damn cave.
Well, you know, with Israel, when we worship idols, we put them all over our house. You know, we got statues in the yard. We got them in the crib. We got
the bathroom.
We got Baal chains.
They had fruit in front of the door.
They do.
They had fruit in front of the. You know, they had that fruit in front of the door.
They do a lot of archaeology. They do. They always pull up cities. They go to cities. They pull these origins. There's always these chains and these jewelries, and they always have these symbols of these other gods.
Yeah.
Other gods. Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always that.
But then you know David's like, damn, I'm busting my tail, and why is every step I have to bust my tail and earn every little thing?
But they get everything easy.
Easy.
And that's
They just they make political moves and decisions, and they rise up
and
quick.
prosper.
Based on belief.
Yeah, exactly. Based off compromise. I'm doing things the right way, doing things in order, and it takes me forever to get to where I got to get to. Because Most High was more concerned with the lessons David learned than giving him the kingdom. Because what it's showing you is the person he loves, he chastens the most. The person he cares the most about, he puts him through the ringer at a higher level. And we have to accept that as men in Christ. Anyway, let's keep going.
Verse 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 12. And Abner the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeah.
So they went to Gibeon, which was Saul's hometown, which also was Abner's hometown, right? This is where they're from, Gibeon in Benjamin. Read on.
Verse 13. And Joab the son of Zeruiah.
Joab the son of Zeruiah was the sister of David. So David's captain of the host is Joab. It's a family affair on their end too. Joab was cousin or nephew to David. Abner was the uncle to Saul. So it's still in the family. Read on.
And the servants of David went out.
So they went out. Listen. They went out. Read on.
And met together.
When they says they met together, this is like some damn crazy circumstance where they both went to a watering pool at the same time. Abner and his servants, Joab and the men that are part of David's army, they met at the same watering hole, and it was none but tension and beef.
Can you imagine the atmosphere?
Because obviously what's happening is both parties were posturing for position.
Right.
So these are these hidden little proxy wars within wars, fighting and jockeying for position and leverage for years at this particular time.
Then the question is always, well, who's the Most High with?
Exactly.
And that's the question that they would have to ask themselves.
That's what they was about to ask themselves. That's what they was about to ask.
Yeah. That's the natural state of man. Is okay. You're there with your opinion. I'm here with my opinion. So who's the Most High? Whose side the Most High on?
They all went to get some water.
And that was the same thing.
And alas,
yeah,
I got beat. The guys that got beat was right here in front of us.
That's the same thing that happened with Moses, Dathan, and Korah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, let's find out who the Most High is with. Because, the Most High will determine. You know what I'm saying? When you have that kind of opposition where it looks like it's just only men involved. Or when it looks like there's only families involved. It's hard to see where the Most High sits at.
Yep. So now they meet this watering hole. That's what the pool means. It's a watering hole. They get hydrated. And the pool is of Gibeon. So obviously it was a border town or border area where Benjamin and Judah are connected to. They live right next to each other. Read on.
And they sat down. The one on the one side of the pool.
So you had Abner's crew on one side. Read on.
With Ishbosheth.
Yep. Well, it was Ishbosheth's people. Ishbosheth was at the crib. Ishbosheth don't fight. He don't sweat. He ain't doing nothing that requires work. Read on.
And the other on the other side of the pool.
The verse said Abner and the servants of Ishbosheth. Ishbosheth don't touch smoke. That's why he was in the house in the first place. Anyway, keep going. So you had Abner and his guys and Joab and his guys all posted up. Tense as hell. Read on.
Verse 14. And Abner said to Joab, let the young men now arise and play before us.
Listen. Their version of play is not my version of play. Their version of play was we're gonna get down.
That ain't music.
We ain't playing no music, guy. We ain't playing the guitar. The guitar is not getting played. Let me make sure I find this word for play. Verse 14. I want to find out that word.
Like concordance.
No, it was. Listen, the funny thing is, they looked at this war. They looked at warring and fighting as a sport.
They says to make sport.
It was just a sport. let's see what our little ones, what our young ones are gonna do. Let's see who will win.
Let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun, and let's see what these young dudes are gonna do with each other.
Ooh, it also says, I'm sorry.
Okay, what else you got?
It also says to mock.
Because they want to see. You know why? Because Abner thought his Benjamites were going to take out them Judites. They only had, listen, it was 12 on 12. It wasn't the whole armies. It was like, let's see our 12 young ones out. Scrap on your 12 young ones. Listen, it's like that's gang shit. You ever seen Bloods and Crips?
Yeah.
And then listen, let these young you-know-whats go at each other and see what happens. Let's see who got hands. Who got the better hands. If that ain't Judah and Benjamin, who the hell is it? I ain't no Edomites doing that. That's all nigga shit. Excuse my French online. That's what that is. It's pure niggerisms.
Bragging rights.
And listen, 12 on 12, mano a mano. Let's see who got the best.
And they both talking shit.
And they talking shit. And you know what? They get them all riled up. And what you gonna to get everybody turned up, and then it turns into a war. Because you got slap boxing one nigga, you think it's a slap boxing, and then all of a sudden nigga get hit hard, and now we gonna fight.
Yeah. In that situation.
And that happens all the time in the world of Jacob.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening. Initially, it was just playful. 12 on 12. Let's see what it do.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. This is black folk problems. I don't care what nobody say.
It's pride.
It's because that's where it's pride. I look bad. Now I'm looking bad. You jack me up. Now it escalates. Now this shit just escalates.
I'm sorry. I've been in that situation, man. Yeah. Like you in the crib. And you know how they call it, like, I'm gonna fire your ass, I'm gonna fire you up.
Yeah.
So you start talking shit about each other. Everybody's laughing, no one's laughing at your jokes. Right? Someone's getting the better, and you go outside. Oh, let's slap box, man. So you slap box, this thing, you know. Hey, bro, he hitting you, bro. He hitting you, man.
And your face is red too, because it don't feel good how you got slapped.
Next thing you know,
You gonna let him do that?
You gonna let him do that. That's the perfect word. That's perfect.
That was it.
That's the sport. You gonna let him do that too? Back in elementary.
And he's that instigator, right? He's
You
trying.
always got an instigator. Back in the day, they put a stick on your shoulder.
Yeah.
I bet you won't knock that off your shoulder. Yeah, that's what they do. They say, I bet you won't knock that off his shoulder. That's the instigator. That's his job. Because everybody wants to see a fight.
This is Star Wars. This is Star Wars.
The hype man.
Yeah, the hype man. You don't let him get ooh, he said that about you. You don't let him talk about your mama.
Ooh, we got you. We got you. That's messed up, bro. So
Making a show out.
It's a
and
show.
so this is what he's saying. Let the young men now arise and play before us. And Joab said, let them arise. Let's go there, man. It's Joab's guys versus Abner's guys.
This is carnal.
This is all carnal. This is carnal based stuff. Like, this is base activity.
I don't know how you read this and you see white faces.
There's no way.
No way.
It just, it sounds in old English. Huh?
This is hood.
This is hood shit,
It's
Excuse me,
World Star, bro. It's World Star. World Star.
This is World Star.
Before World Star.
Yes, this is World Star before World Star. Right? So he's let him run. Go on there. Let's see. So read on verse 15.
Verse 15. Then there arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth, the son of Saul.
So it's 12 on my set, 12 on your set. Young dudes, less experienced in war. Let's see what they got. Read on.
And 12 of the servants of David.
So everybody got to prove their worth. It's crazy. Read on. And David wasn't around.
Right.
Listen, read on.
We still talk that. I'm gonna let my young ones get at it.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody said that. Pop said it. Pop said it, right?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Young gladiators.
Get out the way, yo. Get out the way, yo. Biggie Smalls just got dropped. Yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah, I'm gonna let my young ones ride on you. Yeah, I'm saying that's how you know
Oh my
it's been going on.
This is
It's been going
pure
on.
carnal Jake stuff.
With BG.
Yeah,
that's what it is, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, keep going, man. This is crazy.
Verse 16. And they caught every one his fellow by the head.
And they going at each other. They stealing on each other.
Escalated quickly.
They caught every one of his servants by the head. Read on.
And thrust his sword in his fellow's side. So they fell down together.
Listen, it started with some swings, and it turned to damn sword play out.
Yeah.
And nobody survived.
That's
How always
the
is, though.
epitome of us, man.
You start with hands, and then somebody gets the strap out.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then nobody wins. Everybody dies.
It's a whole family.
This is Jake. They come back. They go to the house and get their gun.
Yeah.
They get quiet. They go to get the gun. Everybody, you better get out. You better run because he's going to shoot. He's popping caps out.
Well, he's mad.
That's the end of the house party.
That's it. That's it. All the fun's over, right?
Yeah.
Kinda.
Record scratch.
That's the end of many of clubs,
Yeah.
Many of clubs have fallen
Go
over.
to the Waffle House.
Yep.
Around the thing, everything's cool.
That gets shot up too,
Parking lot, see the parking lot.
Oh
Yeah.
man, they spraying the parking lot. Kinda.
Tacos is gone. I see all my crew there.
Tacos
Can't go
gone,
get no
huh?
food no more, man.
That's hilarious. So yeah, that's where we're at. So read on.
So they fell down together.
So they all these 24 men died. Read on.
Wherefore that place was called Helkath Hazurim.
Nigga-ish. That's what it should be interpreted at. Read on.
It means field of swords.
I'm just being stupid. Yeah, it is field of swords. Field of pride.
Yeah, field of pride.
It's crazy.
That's the projects, man.
Yeah, that's the projects. Yeah. Read on.
Which is in Gibeon.
Con.
Verse 17. And there was a very sore battle that day.
What it's saying is now it turned up beyond just the 24. Now it was a full-fledged war.
It got real.
Then it got real. Because all these guys is dead. Now it's a war. Read on.
And Abner was beaten.
His men were beaten. Read on.
And the men of Israel and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel.
9.5 boys got whipped up.
North versus south.
Listen, it was North versus South, and then Judah boys, they was bringing it out. They was war. Listen, Judah was war ready. They were already, the whole time they were fighting. On the run, they were fighting and killing the whole time. So they were war ready. Now you're getting to the real warriors, the 600 dogs. Going against the 9.5 is over. Read on.
And the men of Israel before the servants of David.
Done.
And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah.
Yes, Zeruiah, which was, once again, it was the sister of David. Read on.
There, Joab,
which is the oldest,
and Abishai, and Asael, and Asael was as light of foot as a wild roe.
So Asael was fast. This dude was running that 4-2.
Beyond that.
I know. I'm just being silly. But he was fast as. When you think 4-2, that's blazing. I can't even visualize a person running 4-2. But he is running as like a wild roe, a deer. He's pushing.
It's a 2-second 40.
Brother, that's insane.
Yeah,
If that's the case.
a wild roe's in stride, bro.
Yeah.
They're known for their stride,
And he's
bro.
cutting on a dime.
Yeah.
Those deer are cutting on a dime. Their agility is out of this world. Their stride, their speed, and agility out.
Wow.
And it's very, and it's like no resistance.
Good.
Just
flow.
Man, that's crazy.
Well, let's keep going.
Verse 19. And Asael pursued after Abner, and in going he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner.
Just so he was courageous, and he was focused with his will, and his intent was pure. Read on.
Then Abner looked behind him and said, Art thou Asael?
He says, okay, read on.
And he answered, I am.
Because now, listen, what Abner is about to say is, listen, this shit's getting out of hand. If I take out Asahel, it's on. And I don't want to do that. Because now I got the wrath of Joab on my hand. Listen, you gotta say, these guys are captains of war. Joab and Abner are killers.
Yes.
These guys are pure killers. For Joab to be the head of David's army, those 600 men, these guys were like, they were killers.
Mighty men, bro.
They were mighty men. These guys were valiant.
They're known for their exploits in battle.
Kinda.
How when you look at the mighty men, and later on they will talk about their individual exploits. But you had one that could, with a beam, could take out 600 men.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With a staff.
First of all, how strong were it? Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. You read about some of their individual.
Benaniah?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. How they were able to take out hundreds and thousands in a day, single-handedly.
Bro, Benaniah sat back here, killed a lion. Now, killed a lion-like man of Moab. Then killed a lion. I went into his den.
In the snow.
In the snow. That means you lose all of your leverage. It's just this, you can't move. You understand? You can't move. So it's me and you. I can't move. You're attacking me head on, and I'm going to stop you. And I'm going to go out this den, and it's going to be okay. Good. Anyway, these guys were the captain of these men. Abner was no punk. You know what? Listen, Saul was no punk. Saul was a warrior, right? All the wars, he was in the head. Saul wasn't no chump either. So anyway, so Abner's running. This war had escalated. They lost. They took heavy damage, as you're going to read. And he's like, Asahel, is that you? He says, yes, this is me. Read on verse 21.
Verse 21. And Abner said to him, turn thee aside to thy right hand or to thy left, and lay thee hold on one of the young men.
He's like, listen, man, you need to kind of bow out of this one, bro. Slow down. Go take out one of these young dudes. You don't want to come at me. I'm not trying to hurt you this day. Because he knows if he does this, this is never going to stop. Read on.
And take thee his armor. But Asahel would not turn aside from following of him.
And that's Asahel's pride. Well, this is a story about why, as a leader, you can't rile up young men like this.
True.
It still goes back to both of them were irresponsible captains, and they allowed this situation to escalate into full-blown war. You knew there was tension. You want to sit back and use it as sport and fun, and now this fun, sporty thing. Now we're in full-blown war, and this young man, which is the son of Zariah, is going to try to kill me, and I got to defend myself. So I'm about to take this guy out. This is what Abner said. I'm about to kill Asahel. And I have the wrath of his brothers and David on me.
In the hood, it was families against families. Every hood can testify about that, And when you got you know even as a young man or young woman, if you fight one, you got to fight them all. Because they're gonna chase you. They're gonna chase you home from school every day. If you gonna get, so you gotta, if you decide to make that swing or that blow and strike, you better either run fast, or you better have all your family with you, because it's gonna turn into a family brawl on a daily basis. Even though you're in the same project or same neighborhood or same side of town, it's gonna get bad real fast. And he knows it.
And this is what he knows exactly. So keep going.
Verse 22. And Abner said again to Asahel, turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite thee to the ground? How then should I hold up my face to Joab thy brother?
He says, that's the point. He says, man, we was just messing around, man. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm gonna let this guy in the eye. I killed you. I got to deal with your brother. I don't want to do this. This is bad. But Asahel wasn't listening. He was turned up, and like young men, and weren't listening to reason. But they started it. Read on.
Verse 23. Howbeit, he refused to turn aside. Wherefore, Abner, with the hinder end of the spear.
Stop. This was a military tactic. The front of the spear was what a person was looking for in war. The front of the spear is what you're watching out for. He didn't know that he had the back of the spear sharpened. And that was an old military approach. So if I got Asahel running alongside of me, he's looking at that spear from the front. But what Abner did was this. Pow! He just sat back here and got him in the side. So listen, he wasn't expecting it. He's looking at the tip.
Right.
That's what I got to watch out for. The reason somebody doing it, pow! It's dead. It's over.
Right.
But once again, Abner was the grizzled war vet. He knew all these little tricks. He knew what he was going to do to him. He said, he's going too fast. He's going too fast. All I got to do is stick him. He's going to run right through the stick. He's going to impale himself.
Hit him with a crossover.
Exactly. And he could, in that momentum, was going to go right through the staff.
Couldn't stop.
And he knew it. He said, just stop. Don't do this, Asahel. Don't do this, Asahel. All right, boop. And he knew what was going to happen. But that's how he sharpened the end of his spear, because he wasn't expecting it. So he's going full speed. He impales himself with that staff on the bottom end, and he's dead. Read on.
Wherefore Abner, with the hinder end of the spear, smote him under the fifth rib, that the spear came out behind him.
Because he was going so fast, he got impaled by it.
Right.
His own momentum.
God, his own momentum, he stuck him and he went right through. Read on.
And he fell down there and died in the same place.
Wow.
And it came to pass
Yep.
that as many as came to the place where Asael fell down and died stood still.
And that's when all the hood shit stops. And that's when they realize, oh man, Craig got messed up. Craig bleeding. And all of a sudden the fighting is over. Well, now it's not over, but everything got serious
For a
at that
period of
point.
time.
Everything got serious because now Joab's family got one of his brothers got killed.
King Von died. That's what happened.
God.
They're at the club, beefing at the club, always talk crazy on wax. Something happens, and everybody's upset. You have potential. You have potential. You're going somewhere. So it's the same play with our people.
Yeah, it's the truth. So keep going. Read on.
Verse 24. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner.
So once they stopped and saw Asahel down, then they just reared up and was like, this guy's dying tonight. Abner's dying tonight. Read on.
And the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Amalek, that lieth before Giah, by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon.
Mm-hmm.
And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner, and became one troop, and stood on the top of an hill.
So now Abner has leverage now. They took losses, but they have the high ground. And you know when you have the high ground, you're in a superior fighting position against Joab and his brothers and the rest of the mighty men. Read on.
Verse 26. Then Abner called to Joab and said, shall the sword devour forever?
Now, how long are we going to do this, Ike? We got to stop this.
How long are we going to kill each other?
That's the one. We
all
got to stop
we all
now.
in the same game. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Stop the violence.
Yeah.
And that's what he said. It's got to stop now. All the horseplay, this shit escalated real bad. Read on.
Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end?
It's going to get worse and worse, but there's going to be more losses on both ends. We got to stop it. Read on.
How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people return from following their brethren?
How long is it going to be that this situation happens? That the violence continues to progress. Read on.
And Joab said, as the Most High liveth, unless thou hadst spoken, surely then in the morning the people had gone up, every one from following his brother.
So he says, as the Most High liveth, unless thou hast spoken, surely then in the morning the people had gone up, everyone from following his brother. He just listen, if you didn't say this, if you didn't say that, we was going to keep going to the end. We was going to keep going to the end if you didn't stop it. Read on. But what you're going to read down the line is Joab didn't forgive him.
Nope.
Yeah.
And Joab was waiting for an opportunity to
Yeah.
catch him slipping.
Mm-hmm.
Read on.
Verse 28. So Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people stood still, and pursued after Israel no more. Neither fought they any more. And Abner and his men walked all that night through the plain, and passed over Jordan, and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. And Joab returned from following Abner. And when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men and Asael.
So they only lost 20 people. So if you think about it, the first 12 died, and they only lost 8 more people. They wiped out Abner's people. Read on.
But the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 360 men died.
Wow.
Listen, that's 360 men died out. They wiped them out.
And you only lost 20.
They lost 20 out. But that one was a big one. And Abner knew. He said, man, if I take this guy out, man, this is bad, bro. This is going to be bad. It's going to keep perpetuating more violence. Verse 32.
And they took up Asael and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at break of day.
Bro, they both just walked all night, bro, to burn off that energy and deal with that sadness out. That was a bad carnal day in Israel history. I think.
Just by happenstance.
Just by playing around.
Same hole, bad suggestion,
Yep.
bad energy, bad choices.
You know, and it makes sense why the scriptures say not thou, am I not in sport?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was just playing. You know what I'm saying?
Very good.
Because that people would say I was just playing with you, but you know what? Things get out of hand real soon and real quick. You know, that's bad, bro.
It's Proverbs 26.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all want to do this Josephus, man? And run through this real quick? I think we should. Let's do paragraph 3. No, we're just gonna. Yeah, I just gotta rush real quick.
Okay. You want to do chapter 3 or paragraph 3?
Paragraph 3.
Paragraph 3. Mm-hmm.
Let me read away.
All right.
It's still
page 180 in the Josephus. It's book 7, Antiquities of the Jews, book 7, chapter 1, paragraph 3.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You want to read.
Paragraph 3. But as soon as Abner, the son of Ner, who was general of Saul's army, and a very active man, and good-natured, knew that the king and Jonathan, and his 2 other sons, were fallen in the battle, he made haste into the camp, and, taking away with him the remaining son of Saul, whose name was Ishbosheth, he passed over to the land beyond Jordan, and ordained him the king of the whole multitude, excepting the tribe of Judah.
So showing that there was a split in the allegiance of the children of Israel.
Yep.
You know, he said, you know what? I'm still going to make Ishbosheth king over the northern kingdom of Israel. Go ahead.
And made his royal seat in a place called, in our language, Mahanaim, but in the language of the Grecians, the camps.
Yeah, and this is why you got hey! This is why you got camps that are divided to this day.
It's camp banging.
It's camp banging out.
Wow.
Again.
What say that again?
I missed that.
Hey, bro, you gotta see this part, bro.
Oh man.
We thought it was just judges out.
What?
They ain't just judges out.
No, read line 10.
Yeah.
I give you my yellow.
Line 10, paragraph 3. And made his royal seat.
We're gonna go from the top, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, started from
top is good.
Paragraph 3.
Paragraph 3, from the top. But as soon as Abner, the son of Ner, who was general of Saul's army, and a very active man and good-natured, knew that the king and Jonathan and his 2 other sons were fallen in the battle, he made haste into the camp, and, taking away with him the remaining son of Saul, whose name was Ishbosheth, he passed over to the land beyond Jordan, and ordained him the king of the whole multitude, excepting the tribe of Judah.
Because that's where David was over the tribe of Judah.
Mm-hmm.
But he gathered together the whole other rest of the tribes, the 11 tribes, following after Ishbosheth. Go ahead.
And made his royal seat in a place called in our language Mahanaim.
Or Mahanaim.
Mahanaim, but in the language of the Grecians, the camps.
Wow.
So that word Mahanaim, that means in translation the camps, man. And you had even back then, people separate themselves in camps.
Wow, bro. The camp of Judah?
Yeah.
The camp of the 9.5, huh?
Yeah.
There was camp banging. It was camp separatism.
Yeah.
From the beginning. Wow.
And that particular place was called the camps, man. So even their group was situated in a place
camp
called
means their groupings, huh?
Yeah, just their
groupings or their folds, their sheepfolds, like
Right.
Christ talked about, huh?
Or their particular believers.
Yeah. Their association.
Their body of believers.
Kinda.
Or their body of followers.
Kinda.
The camps, from whence Abner made haste with a select body of soldiers to fight with such of the tribe of Judah as were disposed to it.
Camp versus camp, man.
Camp versus camp.
For he was angry that this tribe has set up David for their king.
So this was the underlining beef from the beginning. Listen, Abner was still pro Saul in his line. He was going to defend that position. And David was going to defend the position the Most High gave him. So this whole period, these years were building up this tension and this hatred. But this had been happening for many years. Judah versus the rest of the tribes. And this beef was festering. Continue.
Line 11. But Joab, whose father was Suri, and his mother Zeruiah, David's sister, who was general of David's army, met him according to David's appointment. He had with him his brethren, Abishai and Asael, as also all David's armed men. Now when he met Abner at a certain fountain in the city of Gibeon, he prepared to fight. And when Abner said to him that he had a mind to know which of them had the more valiant soldiers, it was agreed between them that 12 soldiers of each side should fight together. So those that were chosen out by both the generals for this fight came between the two armies, and throwing their lances one against the other,
Their swords.
they drew their swords, and catching one another by the head, they held one another fast, and ran each other's swords into their sides and groins.
Oh, man.
That was a death mission, huh? Nobody was holding back. They was going to go to the death line. That was a fight to the death line. It's crazy, huh? Read on.
Until they all, as it were by mutual agreement, perished together. Line 13. When these were fallen down dead, the rest of the army came to a sore battle, and Abner's men were beaten. And when they were beaten, Joab did not leave off pursuing them, but he pressed upon them, and excited the soldiers to follow them close, and not to grow weary of killing them. His brethren,
Joab was bloodthirsty, huh? Keep going.
And not to grow weary of killing them. His brethren also pursued them with great alacrity, especially the younger Asael, who was the most eminent of them. He was very famous for his swiftness of foot, for he could not only be too hard for men, but is reported to have overrun a horse.
To outrun a horse.
Wow. Now, a horse runs at top speed of 40 miles an hour.
That's ridiculous, man.
Now, they say that Usain Bolt, when he broke the record,
Like 20.
was 27 miles an hour. Yeah, they said the top speed of a man, which Usain Bolt has been recorded as the fastest man to ever run. His top speed was 27 miles an hour. That's said to be the fastest that a human could run.
Right.
No human has ever been recorded to run past 27 miles an hour.
Right.
A horse runs at a top speed of 40 miles an hour.
That's crazy.
So that's Usain Bolt. He would have left Usain Bolt in the dust.
In the dust.
Yeah. And that's with spears and stuff in his hand.
Man, what's crazy is that even if he
Swords.
didn't have the spears running against a horse, how long was his race out? Because that stride is out of this world. For a horse to stride, for how long he prolonged that speed? The horse? How long did he go against him for? How long did he run against him?
Right. You outrun a horse at top speed out?
Full gallop?
Yeah.
And his body has to be a certain build to sustain that kind of speed. You know what I mean? So he has to have a really good build as well.
Israel was put together godly at that point. Huh? That's the same.
That's that Judite blood, huh?
It gotta be, bro.
That's crazy.
Listen, you ain't mixing genes and getting that speed out. That's pure. I'm not even joking.
That ain't watered down.
That ain't what.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
That is not watered down. That is pure facts. So let's keep going. It says, outrun a horse.
But is reported to have overrun a horse when they had a race together. This Asahel ran violently after Abner.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine having
It's a hell of a day.
Man, you got this guy.
Can you imagine having that behind me?
Yeah, not this guy, man.
No.
They might went up, not the fastest dude in the land.
And that's why Joe said, "Is that you?" I said, "Hell, yeah, that's me." He's like, "God damn it."
He ain't got
No
no
getting
choice.
around. I gotta take this
He
guy
can't
out.
get away.
He can't get away.
He knew he couldn't get away. He was like, this ain't happening.
That's why
He was
I gotta
trying to
talk to him like, listen, go to the left, man. Go to the right. Go at these little dudes, man. Don't take their armor out.
They're not running there.
He said, take their armor out.
That's crazy.
Because if you try to take my armor out, I gotta get you out. I gotta get you.
Wow.
Read on.
This Asahel ran violently after Abner and would not turn in the least out of the straight way, either to the one side or to the other. Hereupon Abner turned back and attempted artfully to avoid his violence. Sometimes he bade him leave off the pursuit and take the armor of one of his soldiers. I'm sorry, I got a question. This significance behind this armor thing was like a trophy thing.
Yeah, it was a trophy.
Like a chain thing. Like
I think it was a trophy. Yeah. It was no different like those samurais that they would take their their suit after they defeated him.
Right.
He's like, listen, bro. Because listen, that was an honest. If he killed him, Abner was a great warrior. Right? Abner was great. If he's on your hit list side, that's saying something. Right?
And that's not ever a valiant thing when you let somebody take your armor or your weapon, or even today you let somebody disarm you and you have a pistol in your hand and you get disarmed.
You know what I'm saying? And the guy that takes the snatch,
even for police officers, man, they can lose their job. They lose their pistol.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? You let somebody disarm you like that, then you're not qualified to have that arm. You're not to have that weapon. If you let somebody disarm you like that's never a good thing.
That's bad, bro.
And I'm not trying to force it. I'm just like, seriously, is that like, can you draw a line with that connecting to the whole hip hop culture thing with the I'm gonna take your chain?
Right.
It's all pride.
It's all pride.
Pride is part of what area it is.
It's not just your chain. I took your girl from you.
Yeah.
I got something that belonged to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It ain't yours no more.
It ain't yours. I took something from you.
Let's keep going.
This is Israel, period.
Yeah.
Sometimes he bade him leave off the pursuit and take the armor of one of his soldiers. And sometimes, when he could not persuade him so to do, he exhorted him to restrain himself and not to pursue him any longer, lest he should force him to kill him, and he should then not be able to look his brother in the face. But when Asael would not admit of any persuasions, but still continued to pursue him, Abner smote him with his spear as he held it in his flight, and that by a back stroke, and gave him a deadly wound, so that he died immediately.
Damn.
But those that were with him pursuing Abner, when they came to the place where Asahel lay, they stood round about the dead body and left off the pursuit of the enemy. Damn. However, both Joab himself and his brother Abishai ran past the dead corpse, and making their anger at the death of Asael an occasion of greater zeal against Abner, they went on with incredible haste and alacrity, and pursued Abner to a certain place called Ammah. It was about sunset. Then did Joab ascend a certain hill as he stood at that place, having the tribe of Benjamin with him, whence he took a view of them and of Abner also. Hereupon Abner cried aloud and said that it was not fit that they should irritate men of the same nation to fight so bitterly one against another. That as for Asael, his brother, he was himself in the wrong, when he would not be advised by him not to pursue him any further, which was the occasion of his wounding and death. So Joab consented to what he said, and accepted these words as an excuse about Asael.
Damn.
And called the soldiers back with the sound of the trumpet as a signal for their retreat, and thereby put a stop to any further pursuit. Line 18. At the which Joab pitched his camp there that night, but Abner marched all that night, and passed over the river Jordan, and came to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, to Mahanaim.
Abner knew he had to get out of there, bro. Because Joab could have sat back and flipped any moment out. That's why they walked all night out to get out of that situation. Because they knew we got to get back to our headquarters out. Because this guy's crazy out. He's crazy and he ain't gonna let up. Read on.
On the next day, Joab counted the dead men and took care of all their funerals. Now there were slain of Abner's soldiers about 360, but of those of David 19, and Asael. whose body Joab and Abishai carried to Bethlehem. Carried to Bethlehem. And when they had buried him in the sepulchre of their fathers, they came to David to Hebron. From this time, therefore, they began an
intestine
war.
Let's look that up real quick. Intestine.
It's probably an internal back and forth.
Yeah, that's how it sounds.
Like infighting.
Like civil.
Mm-hmm.
Intestine is inward, internal war. Yeah.
Like
internal warfares. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Kind of. So after this, it was a bitter intestine war. Internal war, like an intestine. Yeah, I get it. Read on.
Which lasted a great while, in which the followers of David grew stronger in the dangers they underwent. And the servants and subjects of Saul's sons did almost every day become weaker.
That means they were losing leverage and position. Once again, these are still proxy wars to get control of Israel. It wasn't just this smooth transition from Saul passing to David getting the throne. It was bloody. That's what the Most High called David. He was a bloody man. What he had to do to get to where he had to be, it was bloody, it was brutal, it was violent. It's crazy. We're going to hold that and get back. The question is, let me see. We'll do chapter 3, man. It's a long chapter, man.
Yeah, what time is it?
It's almost 2.
Yeah.
We're gonna hold off. We're gonna hold off on.
I think it's a good point to stop.
Intestine wars,
Yeah.
right there. That's a good point.
Intestine wars. This intestine
It
wars
shows
now.
because it's the culture going on. Yeah.
It's the culture of Israel. There's always intestine wars. Intestine wars, inner struggles, fighting for position, fighting for leverage. This is the nature of the battle, man. But I think we've got the points out. We're gonna stop at that point. Are there any other questions? Yeah, because it's like 40 verses in this thing.
It's like a movie, bro.
It's a movie, yeah.
It's a movie, bro.
Yep.
It's the best movie ever.
Ever, bro.
Yeah, no producer can produce this.
And then
not with the right casting. Yeah, with the right casting there.
Yeah, who would be believable at?
Yeah.
Kind of. You ain't gonna put Hugh Jackman in there and think you're gonna get some responses. You get some brothers in there. Well, let's get this. Israel Amajim, Wapanya Hakwadam, or Wapanya Yerushalayim.
Rise and face Jerusalem.
I can't believe it.
It's crazy, bro.
It's bad,
Yahweh Hashem Yahshua.
Yahweh Hashem Yahshua.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua.
Please listen to us right now.
Please listen to us right now.
Send Michael.
Send Michael.
And the righteous angels.
And the righteous angels.
To watch over.
To watch over.
Bless.
Bless.
Heal.
Heal.
Protect.
Protect.
And make strong.
And make strong.
The people of Yahshua.
The people of Yahshua.
Also send unto us.
Also send unto us.
Much wisdom.
Much wisdom.
Much knowledge.
Much knowledge.
Much understanding.
Much understanding.
Much patience.
Much patience.
Much faith.
Much faith.
Much brotherhood.
Much brotherhood.
And much love.
And much love.
Spiritual power.
Spiritual power.
And forgive all of our sins.
And forgive all of our sins.
Yahushua come quickly.
Yahushua come quickly.
For in thee.
For in thee.
Is our hope.
Is our hope.
Always.
Always.
And forever.
And forever.
Amen.
Amen.
Barakatah Yahweh Hashem Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahweh Hashem Yahushua.
Ahawa up. Nothing an hour. Athawa up.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the law.
Okay. Barakatah Yahweh Hashem Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahweh Hashem Yahushua.
Ahawa up. Nothing an hour. Award. Lara up.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives us the light to see.
Barakatah Yahweh Hashem Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahweh Hashem Yahushua.
Ahawa up. Nothing an hour. Ha'ayom. Kwara. La Kwara. Ha'ayin.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives us the ram's horn to call the people.
Barakatah Yahweh Hashem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Hashem Yahushai.
Ahawa up.
Ahawa up.
Nathanel.
Nathanel.
Shaman.
Shaman.
Zayat.
Zayat.
Lamashach.
Lamashach.
Yashar.
Yashar. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel.
Psalm 92. It is a good thing to give thanks to the Lord.
It is a good thing to give thanks to the Lord.
And to sing praise unto thy name.
And to sing praise unto thy name.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
To show forth thy loving kindness.
To show forth thy loving kindness.
In the morning.
In the morning.
And thy faithfulness.
And thy faithfulness.
Every night.
Every night.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
And upon the psaltery.
And upon the psaltery.
Upon the harp.
Upon the harp.
With the solemn sound.
With the solemn sound.
For thou Yahweh.
For thou Yahweh.
Hast made me glad through thy work.
Has made me glad through thy work.
I will triumph in the works.
I will triumph in the works
of thy hands.
Of thy hands.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
How great are thy works.
How great are thy works.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
A brutish man knoweth not.
A brutish man knoweth not.
Neither doth a fool understand this.
Neither doth a fool understand this.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
It is that they should be destroyed forever.
It is that they should be destroyed forever.
But thou Yahweh.
But thou Yahweh.
Art most high forevermore.
Art most high forevermore.
For lo thine enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
For lo thine enemies shall perish.
For lo thine enemies shall perish.
All the workers of iniquity.
All the workers of iniquity
shall be scattered.
Shall be scattered.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
Mine eye also shall see.
Mine eye also shall see.
My desire on my enemies.
My desire on mine enemies.
And my ears shall hear.
And my ears shall hear.
My desire of the wicked.
My desire of the wicked.
That rise up against me.
That rise up against me.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
To show that the Lord is upright.
To show that the Lord is upright.
He is my rock.
He is my rock.
And there is no unrighteousness in him.
And there is no unrighteousness in him.
By Hashem Yahushai.
By Hashem Yahushai.
Psalms 133. Shayar.
Shayar.
Hama Ayawa.
Hama Ayawa.
La Duwai.
La Duwai.
Hana.
Hana.
Ma.
Ma.
Tuwa.
Tuwa.
Wama.
Wama.
Na'ayam.
Na'ayam.
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Akim.
Akim.
Gum.
Gum.
Yachad.
Yachad.
Hashaman.
Hashaman.
Hatawa.
Hatawa.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Hara'ash.
Hara'ash.
Yaran.
Yaran.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Hazakwan.
Hazakwan.
Zakwan.
Zakwan.
Aharan.
Aharan.
Shayaran.
Shayaran.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Haya.
Haya.
Madawat Yawan.
Madawat Yawan.
Kator.
Kator.
Karamwan.
Karamwan.
Shayaran.
Shayaran.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Aroya.
Aroya.
Tazayawan.
Tazayawan.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Sham.
Sham.
Tazawa.
Tazawa.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Habaraka.
Habaraka.
Kayaya.
Kayaya.
Ay.
Ay.
Harulam. By Hashem Yahushai.
By Hashem Yahushai. Psalms 133. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life evermore. Amen.
Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rakanel.
Rakanel.
Washrolim.
Washrolim.
Obiat.
Obiat.
Support.
Support.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rakanel.
Rakanel.
Washrolim.
Washrolim.
Obiat.
Obiat.
Support.
Support.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rakanel.
Rakanel.
Washrolim.
Washrolim.
Obiat.
Obiat.
Support.
Support.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rakanel.
Rakanel.
Washrolim.
Washrolim.
Obiat.
Obiat.
Support.
Support.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahushai.
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 All knowledge,
All knowledge,
all wisdom,
all wisdom,
all understanding,
all understanding,
all patience,
all patience,
all love,
all love,
all power,
all power,
from your house.
from your house.
All power,
All power,
from your house.
from your house.
All power,
All power,
from your house.
from your house.
By Hashem,
By Hashem,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
the
the one,
Yah,
the Yah,
Ma.
Amen. Men circle up. Levi. Levi. We know Levi real quick.
Back up some. Back up. I want you to hit the thing.
There you go. Right there.
Saluting out in the heavenly order. Yahweh, we are Shai. Okay, Sha'Allah. Men of Israel. Much. What?
Yahweh Shem Yahshua Rakam.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
Top. Turn and face the sisters. Saluting out, daughter Zion. Men of Israel. Much. Barak.
Yahweh Shema Rakam Shem Yahshua.
By Shem Yahshua.
Or Shalom.
Okay, shalom.
Listen, the water, Israel dismissed, fall out. The water, y'all, and we'll see y'all on Monday, all right? The water and shalom.
Test that.
Shalom.
Water for that water, right?